certification, taking multiple online courses. They're free with our software subscription. Started organizing our data. Got 20 years of data to go through. With economic developments, created surveys for them. Just talked to Chastity today. She said that they're really helpful in getting data to her. I do need 5 minutes of the session for unelected personnel. That's it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks for everything you're doing. Everything going okay? Good. That's good to
Do
hear.
you need that right now, Jason, or you?
Get it taken care of.
Hmm?
Get it taken care of.
Yeah, we can get it taken care of and let you go back if you want to. I'll make a motion. We go to executive session with Jason for 5 minutes for non-elected personnel. The 3 commissioners.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll return at 9:18.
Yep.
good? Okay. There was some action from executive session.
I just wanted to inform you all that Carol is going to be retiring soon, and I'd like to get somebody hired for her replacement. So need to see about getting the ball rolling on that.
I'll make a motion that we go out for GIS Technician 1 for, I guess, until the position's filled.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you,
I have
Jason.
one
Thank you.
question, Jason. On
Yeah.
the form that you just gave us, I was trying to log on here, but it's not
Yes.
working for some reason. I have the login, the username, and then as far as like the password, is there
Yes, I do have a
Okay,
password for
can
you
you-
all. I'll email you.
email separately? Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Jesse. Do you want to go now? I guess you can. Are you ready?
You ready, Johnny?
I guess we're on there, but if you want to, you can come up. Okay. Okay.
Jesse Walton, Operations Director for the Road Department. From the beginning of the year till current, we've received 89 service requests, 70 are done and 19 are still open. This week, we received 4 service requests. There are still 4 open, and that was as of Thursday morning. Mound City, this last week, we had blades out running, replaced damaged entrance culvert on 1600 and Ingram, and they ditched around it. Cleared some crossroad culvert at Montgomery and 600. Did some ditching and lining in that area. And they placed some ditch liner down on 300 Road and Reed. Cleared the back slope, dunnage from 750 Lane as requested by a landowner. Todd's requested the excavator from the Mound City shop to go and replace some culverts this week, so that'll be taken over to him. Danny was going to be out of town from Friday till last night. He's back in town. Due to parts arrival, 306, their dump truck did not make it back into service Monday afternoon. Craig did service their John Deere grader with its 1,000 hour. Their Chevy pickup, they did an oil change on it and repaired some minor things on it. They had to fix the post driver on the bucket truck, the sign truck. And Craig is getting the Schulte mower ready for mowing season coming up with the John Deere tractor that's attached to it. Pleasanton, they had blades out. They were out filling potholes on the blacktops. They had blade out all week. They went out and were preparing for this year's chip and seal season coming up. They have quite an extensive list of things that we'd like to chip and seal and go through and repair and patch, get things together. We'll go over a couple of those things here in a minute of what Todd and I discussed this last week. The North Shop, we had a couple small ditching projects taken care of up there. Also some culvert replacements. And entrances. Dan's been getting equipment serviced and ready for the mowing season coming up, and we were able to get the Parker blade back up and going, and it's out working again. One phone call I received last week about the increased traffic that we're getting on Gorman Road now. We have a concerned citizen down there that has some small children at 200 at Gorman. They would ask if it would be in our best interest to put a slow children at play sign or a watch out for children sign down that road for them on this.
What's our procedure on that?
I think it's a lot like a school bus sign. We have to have approval by the commission. You guys make a motion to approve for us to go put those up down there.
Do we have those signs available?
We have to order those signs in. We went through and we don't have them. We usually keep those on hand, but we did not have any in the shop when I went down and looked. I did go down and look at this place, and it is kind of a blind corner coming from the south due to the tree line on the west side of the road, going from the north to the south. It's fairly open. You can see going down the road, but coming from the south north, there's a big tree line there. You want to hold it?
Sorry.
I don't know why it's down there. It's like better there anyways.
Sorry, Jesse.
Just to get you.
Just got a lot of things on my mind. this
Throwing the
morning.
mic at us.
Yeah.
Do we need to
I'm
do a-
okay.
do a road study or anything to see how much traffic we actually have?
I mean-
feel like it's just the children at play. If you're telling us it's needed,
You know, when I was down there, I sat down there for about an hour, but of course it was, 10 o'clock in the morning when I was down there. So there's not a lot of traffic at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'll tell you that. But I don't know if we need a traffic study on it. I can look into that. And the thing is there's just that one house in that stretch. But as a parent, I see the concern. But I just don't know how much traffic actually runs up and down that road.
did you go out for the sign position? The sign?
So I pulled that up. I really didn't have a lot of time this last week to go over that. I did start going over that this morning. There's a few adjustments I would like to make to that. Job description as far as adding job duties on that. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's
You can
something
give that to the clerk this week, maybe.
yeah, I'd be able to get that to the clerk this week.
As far as like
Description.
the children at play sign, do you know how much those cost?
I don't. We usually wait till we make a big sign order.
That's what I was trying
And
to
so we
figure out.
usually
Do
try
you
to
order
get you a bunch of
5
signs together.
or-
We'll probably order 4 altogether. That way we've got some spares.
I'm okay with that. Are you guys okay with them ordering 4?
Commissioner, while I'm listening to this discussion, I was going to remind Commissioner Hightower,
Right.
you had a couple of requests for similar signs for bus
Bus
stops.
stops at Tanglewood
And
Gates.
because
2 and
these
3.
are warning signs, not control signs, we did these under resolutions, not traffic studies.
Okay,
So just like the last one on 1077 you had me put in, they're warning signs, not control like speed or stop, or those are control signs. These are warnings. I believe if you'd like us to look at them and make resolutions while Jesse did the signs, Joyce and I can work on that if you just tell us what you want.
okay. So they have school bus stops at Tanglewood Gates 2 and 3 with no notice. I mean, the stops are at the gate. They're sitting in the road, but it would be beneficial and a safety thing if we had up warning signs for the school bus stops there. And it's, there's, the parents bring their kids up to the gate and they load the bus there. So they are stopped for quite a time. It's not just 1 or 2 kids jumping on.
Okay.
So, but that would be something that we should address.
Is it more cost effective to purchase more than one? The quantity, does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter on that. We get the cost of the size of the sign, and whether we order 100 or 2, it's the same cost per
Are you
sign.
gonna put 2 signs up? Is that your plan?
That's my plan on the Gorman Road. Put one on the north end, one on the south end. We'll go through the book and make sure we get them on the correct distances from the home.
Okay.
And then you need how many bus stop signs?
It'd be 4.
Do we need a motion or do you want to wait till we get the resolution?
It's really-
I think if you just directed him to order them and me to get a resolution through Joyce in the clerk's office, then you could make the motion when we hand it to you.
Okay. I'm in favor of doing that.
Same.
I'm good with it.
You can just bring it back to us next week. We'll make the motion.
For the,
4 bus stop signs and 4 children at play signs
okay,
and the resolution number.
okay. Okay. Commissioner Johnson asked me last week, I think it was, about the bridge over at Centerville. So Todd brought in the cost to go ahead and fix the culvert, patch over the culvert on 1077 and 900. And why we were going to fix that, go ahead and work on that bridge. It's not going to take much to fix that entrance on that bridge. We just need to mill it down. It's just
The one they're at?
correct.
Centerville?
Correct. Yep.
And then what about the two, or the on 1700 there? That was also an issue.
Right. So Todd went and looked at those also. He's here. I had him come in today because some of the costs and things I don't quite grasp, but haven't done a lot of asphalt. But he did bring in a cost to do the patching for the culvert on 1077 and 900. And we're looking at $12,100 on that. And I did misspeak on where the asphalt plant's going to be. It's actually going to be in Fulton down here. And it's going to be $90 a ton for us to purchase asphalt from them. They are going to be up and running real soon. Todd's reached out to them a couple of times to see when they're going to be open, and they should be here shortly open so we can buy asphalt from them to start patching roads. But we'd like to proceed with getting that patched over there on 1077 and 900, get that culvert patched, and then go up to the bridge and mill that one down south of Centerville. Todd, if you want to come and talk about those two bridges on 1700, we've got two on there, one down by Evangeline, and I believe the other one's over by ILIF.
Todd, how are you?
Good morning, Commissioners. Todd Moeller, Asphalt Division. Hope everybody's doing good today. The bridge on Evangeline in 1700, there's a burrow's nest underneath the abutment that about the only way I can think to correct that is if we flowable fill it, dig down, put something there to keep the flowable fill from coming out, fill in what the void is. We would have to cut the road out slightly and then resurface from the bridge heading back to the east to get the settlement taken care of. The bridge at ILIF in 1700 is a more extensive repair. The abutment has eroded almost completely. You can see the pylons under the concrete retaining wall there in parts. I've talked with Mike Nation when he worked here. He had a plan. I'm not so sure about it. I have never done anything that extensive. What it appears to me is that the creek at one time shifted and eroded that bank. So it would be having to not only fill the void underneath the bridge, but it would also have to be replacing the dirt and then reinforcing the slope to keep it from eroding again. So that's going to be quite extensive, and I'm not sure what level. I would like to have somebody who has more experience in this, maybe an engineer or somebody, give me more of a game plan that I can follow. That way we have a better idea how to do it properly. And then we have more of a blueprint if we have this situation come up again. That way, if we do, we're in-house, we can handle it. Right now, I know we can handle whatever they give us. I just don't know where to start on it. Because the problem we have is that bridge has got a deep creek running underneath it. So any piece of equipment we do, we're going to have to be digging from the sides, or we're going to have to fill the creek and then dig back out the creek with material so we don't cause a dam underneath the bridge. So
Okay. So we need to go to the engineers. We need to get our on-call engineer.
I would like to, that way he can go down and inspect it himself and actually see, and then that would be another mill it down, take what I put on there to try to patch it in the past and then resurface it coming out. That way it's a nice smooth transition all the way.
Okay.
This is the bridge that there was a complaint on?
Yes,
That's
for
one of the
quite some
numbers
time.
too there on 1700.
Yeah.
Talked about multiple times, and then the one there at Centerville.
And the Evangeline one I've patched twice and it just keeps settling, and I think it's just because there's something living underneath the edge of the bridge. I took photos of it. You can actually see the den underneath it. I'm not sure how far back it goes or how expansive it is underneath there. It seems only the westbound lane is actually settling, not the eastbound. So I don't know if it's more on that side for some reason. But as I said, the way we would probably handle that is auger a hole through the top of the road, board up that den, and then flowable fill it. That way we can fill up that void mill everything down and then go again, but I'm not sure it's going to stop anything from living under there per se. I mean, I don't know how long it will last. If an animal decides to crawl back under there, I'm not sure on that one.
Mothballs.
Does this fall under the work study for roads and bridges?
Have we had any complaints on our bridge inspections from this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Pull that specific bridge and look at it.
I guess we'll look at them and see what the bridge inspections show, right?
Well, I mean, if there's an animal living under, that could
I'm assuming,
deteriorate
I'm not,
faster than.
I'm not saying it is an animal. I'm assuming because the way it looks with the way the dirt is pushed out around it, it looks like a den, like something is dug there.
Okay.
Because it doesn't come straight out like it would be an erosion. It actually goes down and into the bridge. So it looks like a den to me.
Can we fill that in and see if something digs a bug out? I guess, why couldn't we do that?
Right? That's what he's proposing us to do.
Fill it
Yeah.
in.
That's what I'm suggesting. If we just auger through the top of the road, punch a hole and then flowable fill from the top down, maybe it'll run away and be scared and go find somewhere else to live.
Okay.
It's good with me.
Okay.
I would just like to see all the bridges that we have problems with, all the bridges that we're working on, a timeline, budget. I just feel like sometimes I mean, we still have other bridges that we've had complaints on too. So I don't know, sometimes we get thrown with one that maybe it is serious. Maybe we need to take care of it right now, but I also don't know what else is going on in the county as far as the other bridges. So I just feel like sometimes we're throwing something at us and we have to make a
We do
decision.
our bridge inspections, so we gotta go off of them, right? What's
Well, there
that?
was nothing on the bridge inspection for this particular bridge.
So I got a book, end of last year that had all the bridge inspections in it. I do remember going through it. We do have several bridges that have very minor problems, and some that are in need of replacement here in the next few years, just due to their age and what's going on with them. But that's something I can go back through on that. So there's some that are just in need of more attention than others, and some that we can leave be for a while. So there won't be a lot of bridge projects. There is some though that do need attention. I know these three that we're discussing this morning are three that were in that bridge inspection that I did get. So I know there are other ones that are on gravel roads that also needed some attention.
So these were on the list.
I believe so, yes, yep.
And it's in the budget to repair these three for this year?
No,
Okay.
not that I'm aware of.
So this would be extra if we do the flowable fill on this particular bridge.
But the flowable fill's not gonna cost a whole lot to do. That's something we're gonna do. We can just go get some sacks of crete, mix them up ourselves and pour them down in that hole. So that's not, the extensive cost on that end's not gonna be very much. The cost that's gonna get us is milling them down, paving it back either way on the approaches.
I'm okay moving forward with that one. I need to see the plan for,
Well, and that's what Todd and I have been working on, is to put that together on the cost on that. I know we were still working on trying to get a few other costs put together before we had the cost put for the 1700 road bridges. Get those together. We were working on our chip and seal bids, not bids, costs, to put those together so we'd have something to bring in. And then we're working with Sean to see where our budget's going to be for how much money we can spend this next year and bring that to you.
Okay.
And you said
Oh.
the 1000 or 900 and 1077 is $12,000 bid to fix.
Todd figured up $12,100 to fix that one.
Is it packed in sufficiently now?
We believe so, yep. And he's gonna mill that down and to make sure we've got the compaction over that culvert to where we're not gonna have serious problems with that going forward, so.
Okay.
Okay.
That's where we replaced culverts that aren't.
We've had issues with those culverts there for What, we've replaced them twice now?
I've done it once since I've been here.
Yeah. So I'm good moving on.
Do we have a plan for 2025, what bridges we're wanting to work on?
That's what I said. That's something we've been working on together to
Can
get
you
that
bring
together.
that to us, or at least email it to us?
Yep, we'll get something put
Idea?
together so we can bring that in of what we want to work on. Like I said, that's going to depend on how much money we have to work with, of what the priorities are going to be and where we're going to go with it.
I'll make a motion that we proceed with the 1077 and 900 patching at the culverts in the amount of 12,100.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 And then the other ones, what are we gonna,
We'll get that cost all put back together. I'll get it emailed out to you so you guys can see what the cost is going to be to fix those two bridges on 1700. We'll have the engineer look at that one by ILIF, see what they want to do with that. But I believe that other one down by Evangeline, that's something that we'll be able to fix on our own to put that together. We'll figure out how much material we're going to need on that one.
okay. Thanks, Jesse.
Just that last paragraph there, sent out to you where we'd like to start with our chip and seal project, 200 Road, and also Linn County Road 566, which is 300 Road, which goes from 69 Highway over to 31. Yeah, 7 Highway over to Blue Mound, and then
7 Highway to 30566. Sorry, yeah, that's wrong.
that's wrong,
Yeah, it's only a 3 mile stretch.
3 miles. Yeah,
So how many total miles is that, Todd?
It would be around 15 to 16 miles, I'm sorry.
it's, I've got it right. No, I didn't bring it in.
What do you think that's gonna take us a mile, Todd?
I don't know all my totals yet, but if I'm,
So we're looking at this one, right?
no, this one right here, 5663 Highway to 7 Highway.
Oh, 4 miles,
And then from 568 is the
13 miles.
13 miles, so it'd be 17 miles total.
Okay.
And we were doing 23,500 2 years ago. I'm giving myself probably around $25,000 a mile this year. I don't know that it will be that much, it could be less, but I'd rather aim high right now until I get my solid numbers. So that's given a bit for inflation rise and rock and fuel and everything else having gone up. So I'm speculating 25,000 a mile.
No. We've talked about this before, but just like the Centerville to Bush City Road, you hit Anderson County and what they've used.
Yeah, the red rock granite.
It's much better to me than a chip and seal. I mean, what we've done in the chip and seal up there, and I drive it a lot, that road to what we did 2 years ago or 3, that rock's all gone.
I don't know that it was the rock. I think there was other extenuating circumstances there, and I don't know which one to pinpoint it on. But if you look at Snow Hill Road from 1077 back to Pleasanton, that chip seal job's held up pretty well, and that was both Mound City and Centerville rock there. We've had Valley Road, which held up very well. That was Cadmus rock. We had Showalter and all those that have all held up very well. I think that year it was a fluke year. It was a unique. There was something that didn't quite work right. I've heard of in the past, we've had it happen when John Byington was foreman, that the rock and the oil, they have something to do with the positive and negative charges of it. I don't know the actual terminology, but we could have hit a spot in the rock that it went that way, because if you go from Parker west out of Parker towards Greeley, it's still in good shape. There's spots where,
It'd be fair to say what's up there at Centerville's gone.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. It is completely gone, and you can see where if we went west to Goodrich, we had spots where our chip seal stuck and spots that it didn't. So somewhere, as I said, somewhere in there, I don't know what changed on us, but our rock stopped adhering to our oil or vice versa.
Now, what's the red rock gonna cost us a mile if we hired somebody to do that?
2 years ago, it was $35,000 a mile. I'm going to say they're probably that, if not more. And I've talked to Scott Brost, who was advanced 2 years ago, and he said that even Anderson County, when they went up, or he was doing them last year, was going to be at 32,000 last year, if I remember correctly.
I think that's what I think it costs.
And
I talked to.
yeah, and that's 7,000 more per mile on our already tightened budget. So if we do that, we're already going to be losing more miles. Like, we're going from 22 2 years ago to this year, we're only asking to do 17 right now. That's a significant drop on us.
But what I'm saying is if we get 10 miles there, then we get nothing out of it. That was.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But as I said, in the years I've worked here, this is one of the only times since I've been doing it that I've had that kind of thing happen. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know what caused the rock to suddenly shift from working to not working. I don't know if the further we got into the pile, the charge changed on it. Maybe it was last year's rock or year before rock that they put the pile around and we just got a different batch from it. I couldn't tell you. Like I said, there was so many factors that go into that pinpointing one specific thing to do it, it's kind of hard to do so. So I'm hoping this year Mound City is going to be running a fresh batch of chips this year. So it should all be the same exact chips regardless. And since we're going to be running on that southern end, that's more than likely the quarry we're going to be running out of. So I'm hoping that everything, when the testing comes back, everything can stay consistent with it.
What do you guys think?
I think it's gonna be our cheapest option to continue to do it in-house.
I feel like Todd should continue to do it.
Okay.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Todd.
Todd.
Have a good day.
Anything else for me?
Thanks, thank you, Jesse.
Okay.
Thanks, Jesse.
You want to go, Jacqueline, do you want to go? We put her on at 10 o'clock. You want to go ahead and get that taken care of?
It's fine.
So how many minutes do we need?
10.
10? 10, okay?
I'd like 5 minutes ahead of time before.
Okay.
So we'll go for 15, 5 with the 3 commissioners for non-elected personnel, and then 10 minutes with Jacqueline. I'll make a motion, we go into executive session for 15 minutes for non-elected personnel. We'll return at 10:02.
2, that's fine. I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Is Rose coming in with us, with Jacqueline?
Verse, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rose, 3 commissioners, and Jacqueline.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor, say aye.
We're on.
Okay.
We have some executive session, some action from executive session.
I'll make a motion that we hire Jacqueline Paletta for our county counselor's position on an as-needed basis at $200 per hour, and that we approve her contract next week.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Jessica. Thanks, Jacqueline. We'll see you
Thanks,
next
Jacqueline.
week. See you next week.
I guess we could go to, public comment. Yeah, if you'd like to come up now and state your name and who you're with, please.
My name is Michael Walden. I'm the director of the Southeast Kansas Regional Juvenile Detention Center, located in Girard, Kansas. Linn County was a part of our interlocal agreement up until the end of 2024. So this year, you guys aren't required to have anything to do with us, so to speak. But what I wanted to do was just come and tell you a couple things that the board is doing and some state laws and things that is kind of coming down the pipe, so to speak, just as a courtesy for you folks, so that you know.
Thank
So I won't take up too much of your time. Right now, without having a part of the interlocal agreement, you don't have juvenile services through us. I don't know what you guys have decided or not decided at this point, but I just wanted to let you know that part of the judicial districts and counties requirements for the Juvenile Justice Delinquency and Prevention Act is to have juvenile services within your juvenile justice plan. So if you don't have anything yet, definitely look at that, because that, if you don't have something in place, it could potentially disqualify you from state funding and grants for community-based services. So I don't know what you know or what you don't know. Just wanted to give you that information. Also, the board of directors that I work for, I just manage the facility. They ultimately decide what the premium is set for counties outside of our region or outside of our interlocal. And so they have recommended that anyone who leaves our interlocal agreement and wants to put a kid in detention will pay 3 times the daily rate of their per diem. So right now our daily rate is $175. So if you folks needed to put a kid in our place, it would be 175 times 3, which is 525 at this point. But I don't know if, I mean, they don't have to accept kids from Linn County at this point. So you don't have a guaranteed bed anymore.
That's correct.
But I'm going to try and encourage them that, you know, if you are in a situation that we can still take your kids. You know, we worked for Linn County for over 30 years. And when you guys left the interlocal, you also left your investments. So you're talking around $300,000 of Linn County money that you walked away from. So we want to try and help as much as we can. I know that I had a director's meeting with the other juvenile detention centers in the state. Johnson County was kind of understaffed, sending kids to Douglas County. Douglas County was full, and they were sending kids to us. So we're the only detention center in the state right now taking kids from outside of our jurisdiction. So hopefully you guys aren't ever in a place like that, but I just want to give you guys that information so that you know. Again, juvenile detention is part of emergency services. You know, we're like the fire department. You never want to have to use us, but if heaven forbid something happens in your county, not necessarily a Linn County kid, but maybe someone from Kansas City comes down through here, visiting one of your lakes, and they do something, then you're in a situation. So I just wanted to share that information with you. My door is always open for you folks. If you ever have any questions, if there's anything you want to talk about, come down and see the facility, whatever you need, please let me know. Want to provide that information for you and the people of Linn County.
So did you guys just agree to do this times 3 per diem this past meeting? 2025?
it was last year that was discussed. So.
Is that based on us?
No, ma'am. It was based on other counties and recommendations from other detention centers who are in the same regional status as we are. That's what.
Did anyone else leave you?
No, ma'am.
Just Linn County?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you say we left $300,000, what does that mean?
That is equity within the building and our cash accounts. So
Were we ever going to get it back anyways?
if it dissolves, you would have.
If your business dissolves?
Right. If the emergency services dissolves. Yes, ma'am.
300,000 was our share for 30 years. is what
Yes.
you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
And now it's gone?
Yep.
If we come back?
If you come back to the interlocal, that would be a county, our board of directors are representatives of the 10 counties. So it would ultimately be up to them what they decided. I have no,
But the chances of you dissolving the business are slim. So
there was already one that's already closed, ma'am. So it is possible.
Okay.
So again,
what are we doing now?
We have contracts with Wyandotte County and Johnson County
Okay.
on a per.
Is that through the sheriff's department?
Correct.
He's good with it? Okay. I
Yes.
actually don't really know a lot about it.
Yep. And so, I mean, we saved the county, what, 60,
probably $65,000 to $68,000 a year.
How many days,
in
how
5
many
years.
days a year did we use that in the last 10 years?
Last 10 years, I couldn't tell you the 10 years. I know it was really low. But again, it's a guaranteed bed.
Right.
You're on a per diem basis now, I'm guessing. So they don't have to
That's
guarantee
correct.
you a bed. So,
Okay.
but we did have one county just bring us 5 kids at once.
Okay.
So, I mean, not that we want anything bad to happen like that, but
Right.
unfortunately, it does happen. But again, we're here for, even though you guys aren't part, if you ever have any questions or anything like that, please let us know. Still want to be able to be good neighbors. So,
We appreciate it.
okay.
Thank
you
you
for
for
your
your time.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for coming down.
Uh-huh.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Ralph Kelsey. I'm on the board of directors at Tanglewood. And we have an issue that has to be resolved as quick as possible. Every day that we do not get an answer or do not work out a system or work out anything with the county or for us on the court's opinion that our roads are public and not private, we have an issue with that. And every day that we cannot resolve that issue, our roads go down toilet. Everything in Tanglewood ceases to really exist and function properly. And so we need a county to help us out any way we can. We have a lot of issues that need to be resolved. And I'm not sure the best way to go about that, but we're asking for your help to solve these problems. And we'll work with you in any way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Ralph.
you.
Anyone else?
Well, back to Tanglewood, if they're feeling like we owe them an explanation, we did get an explanation and we need to make it publicly known from our lawyer where we're at, where we stand. So we'll get that to you. We have moved forward with where we're at.
It's just that, every day we're not getting any road work. Do we do the road work or?
We are not,
And that's where we're stuck. Is we don't know which way
when
to
it
go.
comes to
think
the
we-
roads, we're not moving forward with the roads at this time.
I think we need to have our legal counsel reach out and talk with their legal counsel in regards to those things.
Since we're hiring a new legal counsel on Monday, can you give us 2 weeks and we'll put it on the agenda?
2 weeks ago. Yeah, we're just going in which direction to go. Yes, yeah, it's just the time of the year that we really start doing heavy road work.
Okay.
And that's, where do we go ahead and, we do it, the county responsible to do it, that's where we don't know where it's supposed to go.
And once again, I mean, just trying to maintain and figure out what is our best legal avenues to manage this.
Right.
You know, I think we're still, I don't think we have a definitive answer in regards to that as of yet.
You added to the agenda in 2 weeks.
We close public comment then. Sean?
Yeah. Oh, do you need a suitcase, Sean? Gosh.
Maybe to be taller.
Can't help you with that.
How about I get this off of my plate? Sean West, Public Works Administrator. These are the sealed bids for, on-call engineer.
You've been present.
Oh.
Thank you.
I need to hurt myself. That's a you're amazing.
Okay, this one's from Cook, Flat, and Strobel Engineers. And they have a detailed list of their 2025 rate schedule, as well as a proposed timeline on what they would be willing to do.
This is from DG Consultants. Have hourly rates. Starts at $312 down to $68 an hour for different job descriptions.
Schwab Eaton and from $50 to $210 hourly billing rates.
This one is 77 to 340 would be the range.
Let's get back in here.
Yep. All of those.
All of them on there.
Is there extra that you should turn in? You know, put the extra somewhere. Put it all back together.
Yeah, I guess you need to get the one we need.
This one is from Peppercorn Engineering and Environmental. And their on-call rate sheet. From 80 to 500 or to 250 per hour.
Commissioners, depending on our timeline today, I'm going to ask you to let me qualify those and either bring them back to you late today or next week. The reason being is I've talked to Brittany Kepley, and she's working on our HFP grant for the courthouse, which opened last week. She also sent me the paperwork to close out the 2017 grant. I will be working with the clerk's office to fill out that paperwork and bring it back to you before I finalize it and send it back to the state to close out that grant.
Okay.
While working with her on this new grant application, we have until the end of April to get that done. We're going to need an on-call engineer's estimate of the project total on the engineering.
For the roof only?
No,
No, this is for the engineering cost to develop the plan.
the one we're applying
you-
the grant for.
We can get all of that done by the end of April.
Yes. Not the engineering plan, the cost, so we can put in for the grant to build the plan over the next year.
Okay.
Now, if I cannot get you those back and look at all of their travel cost and everything, then I'm going to have to do it next week and we're going to have to put it out. But I'll try what I can to get those back. And then with your permission, I'll work with the clerk's office to get the 2017 paperwork to close out that 2017 grant.
I'm in favor of moving forward with closing out 2017 grant or tax credit with clerk's office. Are you guys okay with that?
I am okay with it. I thought you were wanting to see the application and everything along those lines so that we could maintain it.
I'm assuming that's going to come.
It's going to come next.
I've got 3 stages of that application. The third stage is what we filled to close it out. So I will hand you all of that paperwork together. But in order to start this next grant and to go forward, we need to close out the old one.
Yeah.
So before I send any of it, I will bring it to you and we will go over it.
Okay.
I don't see the need for an engineer. I feel like if we found someone that was just going to contract it, they should just contract it. We don't need an engineer, right?
For what?
To figure out how to repair the courthouse. What do we?
Okay, so this is having us come in, this is the grant, that was the 60/40 grant that is going to come in and tell us what's going to need to take place and help build us so we can apply for the next grant. Right, Sean?
Correct.
Correct.
The engineer would be used originally, as soon as we hire him, to provide Brittany with basically a cost estimate of what it would take to develop that plan over the next year. That plan would be used and funded by the grant and would be used to apply for a second grant to actually do the work. It would be the engineering plan that the company,
not-
whoever did the work, would work off of.
We're not going to get the second grant without the engineering.
Typically, you would not get that without the engineering. And that's why we're going for it.
I'm just worried about. I'm more concerned. I thought we were going to come in about the roof today.
I'm going to bring that to you here shortly.
Okay.
I've been reached out by 2 of the companies that the list that I gave you that said we've never reached out to them on the roof.
That's correct. On possibly 2 of them. I don't know which 2 you're talking about. That's correct.
Have you reached out to any of them?
I've reached out to several companies during the first round of bidding. I can't tell you which companies I've reached out to or reached out to me, but as I said, I was bringing that to you later down in the agenda that
So
In
you've reached
order-
out to some of these companies.
in order to sole source it, what happened is we went out that first round of bids. A couple of people came down and companies looked at it, but in the end, with everybody we called and the people that came down and looked at it, nobody bid on it.
Well, what I'm saying is who that list that I gave you, who did you reach out to? I'd like to see that. I'd like to know who you reached out on the list that I gave you because I've had 2 of them reach back to me and said nobody's called them.
Well,
Is the
again-
RFP still available?
I'm sorry?
The RFP still available to look at for the roof?
That's what I'm trying to get to is if you want me and that's what I was bringing to you today. Those companies that I reached out to and that reached out to me, none of them made any bids the first round on our RFP. So I reached out
On
to,
that list is what I want to know is the companies on that list that you reached out to. I'd like to see that myself.
so I reached out to our insurance agent, and the insurance agent handed me a company and said, contact this company and they will work with you to try to get it because they do historical restoration. I started that process, and that is when both of you as commissioners started handing me these companies, and I can't tell you which ones I've reached out to prior to or have had contact because I didn't keep a list of them.
I didn't understand it that you was reaching out to anybody until I got the contractors about the roof. We wasn't looking at anything on the roof. I don't recall it that way, Sean. I recall it that we didn't have a contractor.
That's true.
So I went to working on contractors, and I gave you a list of contractors for this roof.
That's true.
So where was the other contractor that you was working with? I guess we hadn't even reached out to the insurance company until this happened.
The insurance company reached out to us or me during the week and said, where are we at? And if you need a contact, here's a contact as well. I reached out to that company and started the process of sole sourcing it, and came back today to tell you that if you do not want to sole source this, if you want that complete list, what I can't do is just call them all on the phone and reach out to them, because that would violate our purchase
All we
policy.
got to do is tell them we're going to have a contract, a bid process, and then tell them when we're going to put the bid process out, and that's not illegal.
What we have to do is you tell me you don't want to sole source it. You want to go out for bid again from the
Is that not
beginning.
what we wanted, was to go out for bid for the roof?
We were just trying to get anybody to apply whatsoever is why I remember it.
That's
But
what
if-
I'm getting at, trying to find somebody, because we
anything.
never had anybody.
Correct.
Correct. But if you want to go out for bid again, I will put the RFP and start from scratch and put the RFP out and go for bid again.
Well, that's
with
what
all.
I understood when we started this, is what we was gonna do, is go out for an RFP for the contractors. The reason why I went to get the list
Okay.
of contractors. Because we didn't have anybody then, right?
We didn't have anybody.
Okay.
So when it was originally put out for RFP, do you know what month that was in year?
I would have to look at,
Prior to, it was 2024,
Correct.
summer, let's say, maybe.
You don't have a list of this, Sean? I mean, when
I'm
you
sorry?
went out for this, do you have a list of when we went out for this?
in my office, I would have to look up all the emails and find when we went out for
I
it.
guess
When
I'd like to see
But-
that.
when I sent the RFP out,
We've already gone out for RFP. What I'm trying to get at is we already went out for RFP. No one responded.
Correct.
So that is why we're like, hey, here's this guy, here's this guy. We're giving Sean just emails and contact information. And then I thought, was trying to find multiple people that could bid. And then we don't have to go back out for a bid again though, because we already did. Right?
if
We're just trying to find someone right now. Now,
if we sole sourced it, we would not have to go out to bid. And that's what I was doing with the recommended company that the insurance gave me.
okay.
But if you want me to go down this whole list, then we need to start from scratch in order to keep it within the boundaries of our policies and the purchase policy.
That's fine, but we also need to add all of these vendors back to the vendor list on the website, all of that. I'm okay with going back out, but we need to make sure all these people that we're giving you, that we're reaching back out to them as well.
And I can send the RFP to all of them, but I have to start from scratch to give them all the same playing field,
Can you,
is what I'm telling you.
okay, is the RFP still available for us to look at to make sure it sounds like what we want?
Yes, it's what
Talking about a roof, we're not talking about any other,
yes. I have it available and can bring it to you, or I can put it out, however you want to do it.
I'm okay, like, it's just the roof, it's the courthouse roof only.
Mhm.
I say go back out. But all of the people we've sent you need to be notified of the RFP.
That's not an issue.
Are you guys okay with that?
I am,
I'm good with it.
if that's what we're doing.
I mean, that's what we have to do, I guess.
I thought that's what we was doing, is what I
I thought
thought.
we could just hire someone because we already did the RFP. That's why I was just sending him an email of, hey, try this person. Hey, try this person.
And
That's-
if we sole sourced, you're correct. But if we contact multiple people, we have to put it back out to bid. And that's the problem I ran into. I was sole sourcing it with the insurance recommendation, but then with all the recommendations, I have to start at ground zero and RFP it because I cannot just pick up the phone and get a phone bid because of the cost.
My idea was that with the contractors, it was gonna have them all come down and take a look at it, put it out for bid and have them take a look at it and see what it was, and go from there, was my idea. But that's what we was
I
doing.
thought that's what we were doing too. But
That's
what I'm
that's
hearing
I
today
thought.
is that's illegal. We can't do that. We have to. do
You
RFP.
can if you put it out to RFP and bring them down and have them do
I
it,
just don't
yes.
understand why last week when we were talking about, hey, we're gonna give you this contact, we're gonna give you this contact, that wasn't mentioned last week, and now here we are another
Because-
week into it, and now we have to go back out for RFP. I don't understand why we always go
because-
back another week and it's something else. I just want to get.
Because I cannot ask council for the recommendation of the legal process, I have to look it up myself. So I have to go back and take your recommendations and make sure that I can legally accomplish them and find a path to accomplish what you're asking me. I'm not, I may have been a purchasing agent at times, but I cannot tell you off the top of my head what the statute is and whether or not what you're telling me or asking me can be done without taking extra steps. So I want to make sure that I do not do something or lead us down a road that later we have to start from scratch again or gets us in trouble.
Or just start from scratch again next week and change the plan. Okay.
Okay, if for some reason we had counsel or I'm not accomplishing the job, please let me know. But I am trying to do it and not break the law at the same time. And that is my key goal here, is to try to accomplish what you're asking me to do without violating the statute. And that may get easier as we go and we have counsel to lean on. But at this point, it has been very difficult, especially with the number of RFPs and things that we've got going.
Okay, direction for you this week. Is he going out for RFP?
It's where I thought we was headed. I thought that was weeks ago.
So we're going out for RFP again on the courthouse
Roof.
roof only. And it will close, what, April 14th?
Guess we can close it whenever we want it, can't we?
Well, I thought we had to put,
At least 2 weeks.
I thought we had to put a date on it. You have to put a date on it? Closes
You'll
April
have to put a
14th.
closing date on it.
But it can be 3 weeks if we want it, right?
Yes.
I mean, it don't have to be 2 is what I'm
Yeah.
getting at.
Let's try to get something back.
I say April 14th. Everyone we've sent you needs to be notified.
Okay?
And that would have been 2 from you,
Mine was either
4.
4 or 5.
4 or 5, 1, I think I sent 1 from the
You
state.
sent one.
And then you
I have
one
one from the
me.
state, and I believe the email that Commissioner Johnson sent me has 4 of them on,
Okay.
if I do recall correctly.
All right, so once you get that set up with the RFP, then we're legally allowed to have you contact them and send them that RFP.
I will send them the RFP as soon as it's published. And I will push that out. If you agree to push it out, I will push it out and get it published this week.
If it closes the 14th, then we wouldn't be able to look at them until the 21st, right?
Correct. Or the
What
following meeting.
14th would be Monday, yeah, so.
So you'd want it,
Goes till 3.
you'd want it to close the Friday before you look at it.
Let's do that. So what is that? I can't see that far.
Telling what
On
I
that
think you might
calendar.
do, you might push yourself into a bind with some of them roofing contractors and getting them down here in 2 weeks is what I
The
think.
18th?
The
Maybe
18th,
not.
Sorry. You okay with it closing April 18th?
yes.
Sorry, instead of the 14th, close April 18th
Okay.
To be reviewed on the 21st.
to be reviewed on the 21st on the agenda.
Okay.
Is that right? Okay. Okay, so we're good on the courthouse roof for this week. Back to next week, we're gonna look over the 2017 application that we need to close for the tax credit application. You good with that?
Correct.
Okay. And you'll provide the application that we are closing, so we can review that
Correct.
prior to Monday. You guys good with that so far?
Yes.
All right. Okay. You can move on, sorry.
HR, RR roads or your high-risk rural roads for the first part of 1095, the north end from 152 to 1850 has a revised schedule that you saw. I contacted the engineer and KDOT on this revised schedule because the revised schedule pushed the letting out to September, which could possibly cause the project to be pushed into next year. I was told we could bring it back as long as the engineering company and KDOT work together. So that's what I'm working to do, is to get it pushed back into June or July so that we can accomplish this year. I should know within a week or two if those phone calls move that date back where it belongs. You saw a high-risk rural roads agreement for 1650 South to Snow Hill Road. The agreement should have been in your packets. I spoke to KDOT as well on this agreement. You do not have to sign this agreement this week and can wait and have council review this if necessary.
Okay.
When does this need to be signed?
I'm sorry?
When does this need to be turned back in?
They would not give a date. They said as soon as possible so that we can start the other processes on the checklist. But they understood you didn't have counsel and they were willing to wait a week or two to accomplish it, just to get it through. But as soon as we did have counsel, I would say 2 weeks is going to be a push and we're going to start delaying things on the process after that.
This is the 2026 high-risk rural roads.
That is correct.
Okay.
So is this something we can direct Sean to just get with Jacqueline next week?
I think that's what we should do.
So Jacqueline Paletta will start next Monday. So on this particular agreement, can you get with her next week?
Correct.
Oh.
I can go over it, email her a copy. She can review it and review the copy that you signed in the past for the other half of it, and then hopefully give you advice the following Monday to take care of the document.
Okay.
Okay. Your Foley loader recommendations. You should have got a strictly lease recommendation, which is what I was asked for. And you should have got a strictly used purchase agreement to look at. The lease purchase, or I'm sorry, lease on it was your lease payment, a revolving lease payment would be 62,738.26. An outright purchase on a used 2021 283,773. The conditions on the 2021 is a reminder that the machine is used and does not have the waste handler package on it, so it does not have all of the full extra guards and seals to protect it like a new machine has, although he did include as much guarding on the undercarriage as he could.
Do you have any comments? I,
And the lease is for 500 hours at the 62,738.
Yes. So over the 5 years, that'd be $313,691.30. And we would get nothing for the machine at that point, correct?
Correct. And your last machine lasted a decade.
What's wrong with the last machine? What's the issues with it?
Well, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, the track, the tightening system on the track is fully extended out. The machine has overheating radiator problems, and the landfill track
Loader,
loader.
come over, please.
Step over to the podium, would you please?
you might not want to.
You haven't worked on it? Okay.
Okay.
The items that they pointed out to me are the tightening system on one side of the track is completely played out. The machine we bought used and then used it for a decade and didn't have any track guards on it, although it had the belly pans on it. It has also had overheating and I want to say hydraulic issues.
Do we have any track record of this thing as far as what the repairs we've done on it or anything?
I can have those printed out in Public Works.
Do know a little bit about the overheating issue. They did have fuel in the antifreeze at one point, so we sent it out to get new injector cups and everything put into it. So that was supposedly fixed. I do know that they did have an issue when they got it back with one of the seals leaking on the tracks. And I thought Craig had already got that fixed, but I guess I don't know much more other than that.
Have we ever replaced the tracks or anything of the undercarriage? Is it the original or?
To my knowledge, I don't know. I don't think we have because as far as since I've been here, the only thing that I've done to it is I've done a little bit of hydraulic work to it. I've diagnosed the coolant issue, which turned out to be an injector cup issue.
Did that fix the heating problem, overheating problem?
Yes.
So it don't have an overheating problem now?
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't brought to my attention other than that first time. So
Okay.
I do know that it is wore down to a point where it's almost need to just to go by to the wayside. I mean, it is worn. It's a worn out piece of equipment.
With 10 or 11,000 hours on it?
I don't know how many hours it has on it currently.
10? And it's wore out. The limit on a dozer? Okay.
To that avail too, I mean, this does go through a lot of rigorous motions, it does go through that landfill and it does get beat up on a regular basis. So, I mean, you got to take into effect, it's just not working on a smooth piece of equipment. It's constantly getting beat up.
Okay.
Thanks, Jack.
So you're saying that over the 5 years, we'll have more than $30,000 worth of repairs? Is that,
No, I want to see what the lease was. I'm not sold on that lease either, but I'll tell you what, I don't think it's wore out at 10 or 11,000 hours. Repairs, yes. I think it needs some repairs. I'm not sold on buying a new loader. That's where I stand. What do you guys want to do?
I mean, they came to us and asked for a new loader. We've turned down everything that they've asked for up to this point. When looking at the options, I think we're better off purchasing than leasing. That's what I think.
Where are you at, Ally?
Where I'm at on this, I feel like I don't have a clear understanding of everything we need, and it's not in any sort of timeline of, hey, we're going to be purchasing this year, and then this is needed in the next 5 years or the next 10 years. And I just feel like you bring things to us. I'm not okay with purchasing it because I don't understand the need. I don't even know
Well,
what we're doing as a whole, like all of the equipment we need. I mean, it goes to the roads, it goes to everything. I just don't have a clear picture, a clear pathway of what the county is trying to accomplish, what we're trying to purchase in this year, what we're trying to take care of in this year, what bridge we're trying to do this year or next year or the 5 years. And it's too confusing for me to make a decision on that. I'm not saying that's your fault. I'm just saying.
no, but
I'm not okay with, yeah, let's just spend $300,000
And-
on this.
and I understand that, but to answer part of your question, prior to your arrival, we did have 3 to 5 year equipment plans. We were one of the only departments or groups that put that
Can you-
together for the county.
Can you provide that to her?
I can. It'll be dated from
Right.
last year, but we put those together for the last 3 years, and they have accomplished nothing for us at a great amount of work for the staff and the mechanics and the foremans to put them together. They get approved, and then we come back in, and quite frankly, it didn't serve a whole lot of purpose.
So the commission in the past has approved a 3 to 5 year equipment plan, and then we didn't follow the equipment plan.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Well, I would love to see your equipment plan because you don't have to update it. Just send me what you have.
I'll send it out to you.
Just send it to me. I'd like to review it, and I'd like to make a decision based on that. And I need to also familiarize myself with the equipment you're speaking of. So I just need a couple weeks.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's perfectly fine, and I would recommend if you ask me to send you the 3 to 5 year equipment plan, you also should have the reserve equipment budget,
Yes.
the special equipment fund.
And you're going to send
Which
that out
is-
to all 3 of us, right?
Yes, which is where the funding comes to purchase that equipment, and it revolves out of that fund. And that, without it, it's the key that makes the common sense out of it.
Okay.
You guys have been provided that in the past.
Yes.
And you've reviewed it. And
Yes.
you agreed with the direction. Did you guys make a motion to approve the equipment plan?
We approved the equipment plan, but as far as buying the equipment, no, we had a plan. But you know
Had
what?
a plan.
Plans change from year to
Oh,
year. So,
Totally
you
understand.
know,
It
and-
might be
and, you
something
know,
we
I-
can review.
I'll go on with 10 to 11,000 hours on a dozer. I know a lot of them out there that's got more than that. Repairs, yes, you have to have repairs on it, but just the story we just heard, that it had a heating problem, and then you come in and tell us the heating problem's been fixed, so overheating
As far
problems.
as like the story versus the equipment plan, that's what I'd like to take into consideration would be, does it match up with what the plan was?
And I think as far as looking at the equipment, when we look to replace a piece of equipment, I would like to see the repair list on it. You know, as far as.
We have all of that through Pub Works, which how many weeks ago was I trying to get it to where the commissioners had access to Pub Works so we could look at all of that. So we don't have to be in the dark over all of the equipment,
When a
all of
piece of
the
equipment comes in to
mileage, all the
replace-
repairs, how much we spent on that dozer. I should be able to pull it up on my computer right now and tell everyone out here exactly what I see. And I could give him a decision today.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is we should be able to look at what the repair cost of that thing was on a yearly basis. And
But I don't have to ask him for that. I want to look on my computer and find it. We have the software and I just don't have access to it. And I don't understand why. I don't
Every
understand why
repair should
every
be
one of
tied-
us should be looking
Every
at that.
repair should be tied to that equipment number. And
They
and it
are.
doesn't matter whether Foley in Kansas City or Bartlesville, Oklahoma worked on it.
They
It should
are.
be- it should
Joyce
be
has
tied to that
all of
piece of
that.
equipment.
Joyce has all of that, right, Sean?
If it's been
Everything.
repaired, it's been entered into the system.
They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Commissioners cannot see it unless we request it. Anyone can request it. But I can't come in here and make a decision when all these things you're asking for. You should have asked Joyce to print that all out before we were talking about the dozer today and know, hey, this is what it is.
This is
all
what
the
we're
repairs.
looking at.
Yeah.
You're right.
All of that. Or give us access so we can look at that. So I can, instead of just listening to you and listening to Jack and come up here and talk about a dozer, I have everything. I have the numbers. I have the solid information in front of me on my computer to make a solid decision on what the county should do. But it's too much to take it all in one setting in 5 minutes to hear about a dozer, $350,000 and make a decision. That just doesn't seem reasonable. So moving forward, I'd like to see the 3 to 5 year equipment plan. You don't have to update it. I just want to see it. We need to review it. The commissioners need to go back over it if we're in agreement that it's still accurate. We're still following it. If we gave you our word that we're following it, then we should be following it. I should have a copy of it. We should all have a copy of it. And when you come in to ask about equipment, we should be ready to give you answers instead of you having to come back every week and ask for something else. I don't feel like I have enough information to make a decision today, though.
I will get those items and send them out to you. The next thing I have is the recommendations on the roll-off trucks for the landfill. As you remember, over the last 2 weeks, that this has been hampered by ongoing discussions at the national level for tariffs. In contacting, you should have received a new set of numbers. You'll see that the top number was only good till March 28th. It ended Friday at noon. Bottom number, next two are good till April 4, then the 27th of March, and then April 30, because that's an American-made company. But you'll see the prices, and several of these companies require you to sign a sheet until after the 2nd of next month. Will require you to sign a piece of paper if you go with them and agree, no matter what the tariff is, once you ask for the truck to be built, you will pay whatever it is. My recommendation to you, because of this unique and unprecedented situation, and again, I hate doing this, but is to end this, deny all these bids and ask me to rebid this in 30 days after the tariff situation stabilizes itself and we know what the physical price of each one of those units is, and it's not a moving target. But I've worked for weeks on this to accomplish nothing. And again, this is not your, my, or anyone else's fault, but this is when you're working on multiple bids and processes and trying to keep them within the boundaries. This is frustrating, and I don't believe we should participate in this because I can't tell you that you're not going to lose a ton of money no matter which way you go. And if you sign a contract that says, I'll pay whatever it is, some of these units cross parts over that border 4 times before the truck's built. And no one can,
Ones were made in the US.
the bottom,
Bottom 2.
you can see the bottom bid was made in the US and has an April 30 guarantee date. That April 30 is only because metal prices, other things, but there's no tariffs on that unit. But you're talking quite a bit more than the other units.
About 50,000.
Yep.
Or 30,000 on next train.
Mhm.
Those are both the bottom 2 USA.
12.
Well, no,
Oh.
Nextran, their bid is considering current tariffs in the bid.
But not knowing what the other tariffs are. I mean, it's,
And they're doing the best they can to tell us what the market's going to do and what they can guarantee. But these guarantees are very short windows. And again, we're supposed to have another final conclusion date on April 2nd and have a final answer about what's going to happen with these tariffs. But these bids have been out long enough. If we don't do anything this week, we need to end the bid and start over.
My question is, so when I'm looking at the report on the ARPA funds, we allocated $243,944 to the roll-off trucks. Was that for 2 trucks?
Correct.
And now we're saying that the bid is 196 plus per truck?
That's the cheapest.
That's the cheapest bid, and that bid has to be a chassis and motor and chassis built and then send out to a company to have the
Right.
truck
Right, but I'm just saying,
upfitted.
I'm asking, so we're only gonna be able to afford 1 truck through the
Off
ARPA
ARPA money.
funds.
right.
Did we know that
Is that,
from the beginning with ARPA funds? Did you?
I thought we were doing 2.
Yes, our plan was to do 2.
Okay, but, so is that incorrect what I'm looking at with the ARPA funds?
I'll have to check on that, but your ARPA funding is whatever these trucks cost, and then the rest goes to Terracon for the engineering. So whatever's left, we spend out because we will not.
And we're showing we have $414,500, just a few dollars and cents underneath that left.
So
But we
when
have-
we allocated to buy 2 trucks off ARPA funds and we only buy 1, is that a violation or are we good?
As long as we got the money spent for anything that we
We're
put
good.
on.
We could
Good,
over,
Let's go with 1 and the rest to Terracon.
we could.
Why were we so off on numbers on thinking we could get 2? Why were we off on numbers thinking we could get?
When we originally looked at the trucks, that's what we thought the trucks would be. But again, when we discussed those trucks, some of those trucks were trucks only, no roll off on the
Equipment.
chassis.
Okay.
Do we need two? Are we, what's the need?
At this point, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, we need 2 trucks.
So we're gonna have to pull money from somewhere else. We're still going out to bid for 2, right?
Correct.
Now, I have physically worked on both of these trucks and they are Freightliners. And yes, they have been needed an extensive amount of work. I'm currently working on one as we speak. So, and we've had to send one out for computer issues. And it's starting to become a weekly deal on these trucks because they're just to the point where they're wore out.
Can we survive on one new truck?
Yes and no. I mean, it just depends on if you give us enough money to work on another one to get it to where it could be maybe the next year, you might be able to replace it.
So, and like, we have 3, right? So we were
As far
keeping,
as-
we were keeping the best one
Right.
and getting rid of the worst 2.
I don't know about the other one. I've only worked on the 2 current ones that are used on a daily basis. The other one, I believe, is just for
Emergency.
standby in case one of them breaks down.
But you are limited on who can drive those because one is an automatic, or 2 of them are automatics and one is a standard. So your Class B drivers can only drive the automatics. When one of them breaks down and somebody has to jump in another truck, it has to be a Class A driver.
Why? Because it's
It's-
standard?
Because it's a standard, it's a restriction.
It's something that Kansas has put in.
Can we not get driver's license for everybody for Class A?
We can, but that means we're gonna have to push all our B drivers back through with the trucks we have and retest them. They'll have to be trained and retested. That's pulling them from projects for long enough to go through the training.
I'm just talking about the guys out there on those trucks. Why do we have to do everyone? Why would, you know what I mean? I thought we were just talking about a couple people.
If you're wanting to do just the landfill,
Yeah.
for
The
those
whole entire
drivers,
county.
you're still gonna have to pull them from their routes for at least,
Was that one person?
no, 2.
2?
You'll have to pull them for at least, I would say, 3 days, and then whatever their study time is. Which could be upwards of.
And who's that? Does
We-
Carl, you need to do that? No.
3 days for what?
The first part of it is classroom, then it's over the road. There's 2 sections in the training. In order for them to get far enough to take the test and us to turn them in to send them to take their test.
Okay, that might be something we talk about later. Right?
Well, it was 2 weeks ago, it was 3 trucks, right?
Right.
Now we're down to 2.
Well, we originally offered to go out for 3 trucks, not that we needed all 3, pricing for 3 trucks. I just, and that was me asking if we went up to 3, because of what I was being told by the mechanics and the breakdowns. That was just to simply give us an option, but you had never agreed to anything for ARPA money past 2 trucks, ever.
So what are you guys gonna do? You wanna wait? What do you want?
I'm confused with the bid process and how
Well,
that
I'm
was so, that number is so off from what we have pulled from ARPA, so
I'm not gonna sign any contract with unknown tariff. I'm not gonna do
yeah,
that.
I'm not
I
in
agree with
favor
you
of that either.
So I mean,
So it
me,
needs to
we
go
might as
back
well
out for bid.
Wait, go back up for bids and move on to the next thing, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, do we really know when the tariff situation's gonna end though? I mean,
Supposed
no.
to be April too, but the target for that's moved 3 times.
Well, why don't we just wait until we figure out the tariff before we?
Let's just wait on that. Let's move on to the next thing.
Okay, so you would like me to reject those bids?
Yep,
Correct.
I'd like that.
The next thing I have for you is Johnny on cost shares.
Okay.
And before he comes up, mud poles have been cut free at the dock, and now that they're cut free, they're getting, Sherry and Jesse are getting together to reschedule pulling that dock system.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Good morning, Commissioners. Johnny Taylor, Noxious Weed Director. I passed out some papers that if you wanted to follow along, you could. What I'm presenting to you today is same as I do every year, the 2025 management plan. I'll try to hit some of the high points of that and go over those. And then at the end of it, I get you guys to sign it. And then that's one of the things I send off to the Kansas Department of Agriculture. And then after I get done with the management plan, I can go over the 2025 cost share program procedures. And also at that time, we can introduce a resolution for the $30,000 cap. That's what we've went on the last 3 seasons. So I'll start off, excuse me.
But you can explain that a little bit later on the cap, just what it is. So
Okay,
you go ahead with this, your management plan, and then we'll get to that other.
all right.
Okay.
So to start off on page 1 of the 2025 management plan, as for Linn County, Johnny Taylor, County Weed Director, the first box is specify the goals and priorities of the program of the coming year. Broadcast spray for thistle, teasel, and other broadleaf weeds on roadsides this spring, including larger roadsides such as Tucker Road, that will require use of the side-by-side sprayer. It has, that's an old portion of 69 highway that has larger roadsides than what the truck can spray, so that's why I mentioned that. Do the best to be available to any residents qualified to participate in the cost share program so as to help in controlling and suppressing noxious weeds in Linn County. Transition in the summertime to patrolling and spot spraying for Johnson grass on roadsides throughout the county. Work in conjunction with road shop foremen on clearing and spraying of guardrails and bridges as needed. Continue bare ground spraying as needed on county properties, parks, and roadsides where directed by road shop foremen. The next boxes specify the goals and priorities of the program for the next 5 years. Control, eradicate the spread of noxious weeds within the county. Continue to work with residents in effort to reduce infestations, specifically with cost and effectiveness in mind. Take advantage of all internal and external resources the county has for the control of noxious weeds and share those resources with residents. Continual education in an effort to become a better resource to the public. And lastly, budget money and capital outlay to purchase a pull-behind tank sprayer to upgrade resident rental that currently is only a 4-gallon backpack sprayer. And to just expound on that a little bit, part of the Kansas state statute requires that every noxious weed department has at least one form of rental to the public in case they came to us and wanted to take care of some noxious weeds. We are okay under that statute because we do have a 4-gallon steel brand pump backpack sprayer. As anyone knows that's ever used one, that might be good around your garden or yard or your something like that. But if you were going to do a pasture or something, that's not much of a piece of equipment to offer to the residents. So my idea would be to, at some point, put the money back to offer, and this is kind of copying off some of the other neighboring counties, that they have a pull-behind style that we could rent out to someone. The type resident that has approached me and has fell through the cracks sometimes, if they approach some of the custom sprayers in our county, they cater a lot to the like row crop and some of that first and foremost, as well they should. But that sometimes has a resident that maybe has a 20-acre pasture or 40 acres or something, and they don't really have the equipment. They're not a big farmer. Maybe they don't have the sprayer, but they want to treat their pasture or their area for some noxious weeds. They got thistles going out there, maybe some Sericea, and they just don't have the equipment. So this is something that in the future that if we purchased for our department, we could rent out to them on a nominal fee that we would come up with after we purchased it. So that was just something I wanted to mention as a goal in that box. And the next area, it's describe the areas which noxious weeds species are known to occur within the county and specific locations of new infestations and areas particularly susceptible to new infestations. Field bindweed, spotted more on gravel roads, not yet treated and reported in fields and pastures. Musk thistle along roadsides, fields and pastures that have not been treated. Sericea lespedeza along roadsides, fields, pastures, county parks, and state public hunting land. Johnson grass along roadsides, fields, and pastures that have not been treated. The next ones are burr ragweed, Canada thistle, hoary cress, leafy spurge, quackgrass, kudzu, and Russian knapweed. These are all other noxious weeds recognized by the state of Kansas, but these are a lot of them that are not seen and reported at this time. The next box is list any non-noxious invasive weed species that you plan to control and the types of integrated weed control methods that you plan on using on them. My choice was all vegetation within 3 feet of guardrails. Never mind whether they were noxious weeds or not, but that they were going to be cut and treated with bare ground chemical to be maintained for safety and appearance. Be directed by road shop foreman to spray bare ground chemicals as needed to ditch areas that have been cleared and covered with rock. In fact, I have a couple of outstanding service requests at this time that we're going to go look at this afternoon that fall into that line. That's some of the ditch work that the road foremen have been working on through the wintertime, and they've now covered those areas with rock and some areas, and we're going to spray those with bare ground so that vegetation doesn't grow through. List your planned integrated weed management goals and procedures with emphasis on noxious weed control on private land, including but not limited to biological control agent selection and distribution, pesticide selection and application, and cultural and mechanical controls. The first box is biological controls. Currently, there are limited biological controls for noxious weeds that we have in our county. We'll continue to be educated and researched for any that are in the future. What biological controls are is if there is an insect that could be introduced that would attack a specific noxious weed, then that would be a form of a biological control. Chemical controls, we're all familiar with those. We want to work with the private landowners to determine the proper chemicals recommended by the Kansas Department of Agriculture to control, eradicate noxious weeds. Be available to educate and offer cost share vouchers to aid in the purchase and cost of chemicals, thus encouraging control of noxious weed on private land in our county. The next page is cultural control. The next box there on that next page. Encourage and educate landowners in the following: proper grazing, crop rotation, competitive crop planting, and scheduled seasonal burning. And the last one is mechanical controls. This one is very important. I'd like to stress to landowners to remember, it's easy to forget this. It's to educate landowners to make sure that mowing equipment has been cleaned before moving from a known infested area to other areas being mowed. This is something also as a practice that our mowers for the county should do also. If they know that they've went through an area of infested, then maybe they should get the mow deck cleaned off before they move into a non-infested, otherwise they spread that. Mowing before seeds are produced, cultivating or digging up and complete removal of noxious weeds. The next box is estimate the projected personnel, operations, and equipment cost of the proposed program. And again, these are just estimates. Personnel cost, director plus a part-time assistant, is $60,000. Operation cost, the chemicals, that's my commodity line on my budget, is $30,000. Equipment cost, fuel and maintenance, $5,000. The next box is list the methods that you plan to use to encourage compliance and the enforcement actions you will take if necessary. Engage positively with landowners to work towards solutions by offering advice, cost share info, and other resources to bring issue within compliance. If violation continues and no attempt has been made, legal action can be taken. This will be handled with collaboration with the proper legal departments and within the Kansas state laws and regulations. I did want to commend the residents in the county since I've started doing this. Any complaints or things pointed out that I've ever had to deal with, the county residents are always more than willing to be directed and helped out, and never really had anything that was even going to be close to going to any kind of illegal action. I know there's a lot out there that probably people see, and maybe it does bother them. Hey, I spray my field. That guy's got it in his field. And I know that happens a lot. And usually any time that I've been involved, at least, and been met with those people and encouraged them. And there's also different circumstances. There's absent owners in our county. That happens a lot. There might be a farm that is no longer being farmed, and now it's under some kind of family ownership and absent owners, and it gets infested. And usually when I bring it to the attention of whoever is in charge of that, they take care of it. So I just wanted to commend the residents that anything that I've ever came into contact with that, it was very easy to work with them. On page 4, the next box is list your plans for working with state and or federal agencies to control the noxious weeds on state and or federal lands. Local, state, and federal agencies have their own control policies, but insist that they are attempting to follow Kansas noxious weed law without endangering the wildflower and indigenous flora that they are committed to preserve. Local, state agencies maintain state roads and rights of way, so county maintenance does not overlap. I intend to speak to those state agencies to inquire if working with the county noxious weed department is needed in the future. The next box is describe your education and outreach plan for the coming year, including training and professional development for yourself and your staff. Attend district meetings, annual conference, recertification. Attend all monthly CWDAK meetings. In fact, I have one coming up this Thursday. We do it the first Thursday of every month. I think it's in Woodson County at Yates Center. And actually also, I've been newly for this year appointed to be vice president of our Southeast District. One of the duties that I will have is to plan out the monthly meetings for all the county throughout the year. So that's something I'll be working on at this next meeting. Attend annual Kansas Weed Conference, earning the required credits toward renewal of KDA commercial applicator license. We did just attend that conference at the first of this month. And so it was the 87th annual weed conference on March the 4th. The training credits that we acquired was category 9A. We got 5 credits. Category the core credit, we got 1. And category 6, we got 4 credits. And lastly, the volunteer to work at the 2025 4-State Farm Show booth. It's usually held down in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and Kansas State Fair booth, and any other events that help further education of ourselves and county residents. One of the ways that we do redeem some training from that is, first of all, we get to work alongside other longtime noxious weed directors that are usually working these booths. We also get to meet with residents that are coming in and talking about their issues and problems in their region. Not all of it pertains specifically to Linn County, but it's still a learning process that we get to be part of. And the last box on page 4 is list the facilities and equipment available for use in managing the noxious weeds in your county, including a list of the equipment available for rent to the public and the rent you charge. We have a noxious weed building, including an office, 2 bay shop, and storage area for chemicals. And I want to say that I appreciate my shop very much. Our office, in the last couple of off seasons, I've took advantage of time to paint my office, be more presentable to the public, and to upkeep it. Also this year worked on the shop and cleaned it out and got a new toolbox and maintained all our tools that we use to maintain our equipment and so on, and keep all of our chemicals under lock and key and protected, and also upgrading our heating system this year in our shop so that everything is never at a chance to freeze or anything and have a problem. So we have a 2019 Ford F-350 flatbed with a 400-gallon tank, single nozzle front broadcast spray system, and 25-gallon side tank and 100-foot hose reel and hand sprayer. We also acquired in a trade with an exchange with the fire department, a 2009 Ford Expedition, and we use this for our pest control spraying and transportation to and from meetings. And that's worked out really well, I feel, because it's eliminated so many extra miles on our spray truck. It's used now exclusively, generally just for spraying and not for all these meetings we attend and travel to. And also our pest control, it was very needed for our pest control situation because as winter time comes and we were transporting the pest control tanks on the outside of the truck and they were freezing on the way to go into meetings. So, or excuse me, to places to spray. So that's worked out really well. We have a 2024 John Deere Gator and a 100-gallon bed mounted sprayer. We have, again, I mentioned the 4-gallon manual pump backpack sprayer available for rent to the public at $10 per day. And that brings us to the final page, that just a rundown of the noxious weed department employees. It's myself. At this point, it'll be 3.5 years. My assistant, Carl, that also works in conjunction with the landfill for part of the year. He's now, beginning April 1st, he comes over from now until the 6 months and works full-time with me. Although, because of some of the necessary extra work with commercial trash and so on at the landfill, Al and I, the department head for the landfill, kind of work together conjunction throughout the year. If Al needs him for some reason, if someone's on vacation or we're sick employees, or whatever, Carl's can fill in over there at the landfill to scale, vice versa. I've used him throughout the year to help me with the pest control, even when he's assigned over there. So it's worked out really well to work for both of us. And we are funded out of the general fund, and we do the cost share voucher program. And then that leads, I did leave a copy up there with a post-it note on it. If you gentlemen and lady would just sign that, I can mail that off to the Kansas Department of Agriculture. Any questions on the management plan?
Not on the management plan, but why is it in the general fund? Why does it not have a line item?
It's a line item in the general fund.
Okay.
Right.
We need a motion for this.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2025 management plan as presented for noxious weeds.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Thanks, Johnny.
The next portion I wanted to go into is the Linn County voucher program, and perfect timing because I've already had just late last week, a couple of, as the weather started to be nice, we've got people already ready to take part in this voucher program. And I won't read this verbatim, but I'm going to have this available. I'll leave some copies here at the annex for any residents that come. I leave them at the vendors. In fact, when I leave here and after we've got the official program for 2025 kicked off, I'm going to go visit all the vendors in the county and leave current instructions and price list with them. And the only thing really I need from you guys on that is to have a motion to have our $30,000 cap on the cost share voucher program.
Explain that a little bit, would you, Tony? Just
Yeah, according to the state statute, we set a cap that, that's the portion that actually it kind of explains it too, a little bit on the, this sheet that I had on here that explains the voucher program. So that's the portion that the county pays, the 20 to 22% when you do a cost share voucher instead of selling chemicals. This is the portion that the county pays the vendor. So when a resident gets a voucher, they use it just like a coupon. They would go to the vendor of their choice, and they would only pay the portion minus what the voucher is. And then the retailer recoups that from the county, and that's paid on our weekly bills that you pay. And then, and as far as the 30,000 cap, I will say that, so it's kind of funny how the different years go. We have had that 30,000 cap for each season that I've been here, and we were under it except for 1 year. 1 year we got up against the cap, and I came to the commissioners and I kind of pleaded for the case of several residents that were still wanting to spray late season for Lespedeza. And so you extended it at that time, and I feel like if I came to you again, that's maybe what we could do at that time. We extended it another 5,000. We kept it under that to be able to allow some of the late season residents still participate in a voucher program. But then last year we were well under that 30,000 cap, and I think a big portion of it was just the economy. In fact, almost everybody that I would, when I would go to fill out a cost share, and I would ask them how much they wanted to be purchasing, and it was always kind of an attitude of, man, I'd like to be getting this much, but man, money's just tight right now. And so I think that's what affected it a lot last year, that we were under the cap. But that 30,000 has worked well so far.
I'll
Where
make a
did
motion.
that Does that money transfer over from fiscal year to the next, or?
Yes, that's what we did. So at the end of last year, I came to Sean and spoke to him about my budget and the portion that wasn't. What we did is we moved it over into the area where we were able to purchase some of our chemicals late in the year at a discount, because late in the year, a lot of the vendors that we purchase from for what we use on the roadsides and for bare ground, they're doing a little bit better pricing. So we were kind of to get ahead for this coming year. So we were able to do that. And if that happens, that works out really well. If it doesn't happen, then it's there for the residents to take advantage of.
So for the clerk's office, can you get me the line item out of the general fund for noxious weed for next week?
I think we signed the wrong one, but we signed it also. Okay.
Just something that one.
Okay.
And that's really all I have, other than I've already spoken to the local newspaper about putting in the general notice to control noxious weeds that we put in there every year. That's another one of the basic requirements for the Kansas Department of Agriculture for the noxious weed department.
So we'll
So
need
is there an application process for this then? Are you saying there's an application process for this? Does it open a certain date? Does it close a certain date?
So yes, good question. So it's for the whole entire year of 2025.
Okay.
Generally after the season, I have sold a few, or not sold, I've written a few vouchers later on in the late fall, going into early winter for some people that wanted to go ahead and take advantage of it and probably going to be using it now. But yeah, the cap goes till the end of the year. December 31st is what I usually do the cap to. And as far as an application, it's just I qualify everybody that calls me for cost shares according to, number one, they need to be treating a noxious weed. If they call in and they say they're wanting to treat buckbrush, that's not a noxious weed, or blackberries, that's not a noxious weed. So then I, try to redirect them. You sure you don't have thistles in your pasture, so on? Because if you're not treating, you're probably going to have thistles or teasel or Johnson grass or anything if you're not treating. So I try to redirect them. So basically the way they qualify is they do have to give me the legal description of the property they're treating. That's very important, because if I were to get audited, I have to have that information. And then the landowner's contact information, what noxious weed that they're treating. And then I make sure that they're purchasing and that I write the cost share voucher for a chemical that is on the list to be used for noxious weeds. So that's pretty much the qualifying process.
Is this on the website?
Yes. And actually I will get with Chris and update the website. The website right now has pretty much the same information, except for the price list is just a little different. Prices did change. In fact, I could take this time to explain how I come up with the price list. So what we do is we contact the retailers that the residents are going to purchase from in the area. And so I did have 5 that participated this year. And I get all of the current retail prices. I average that out, and then I take the 20 to 22% off. And the way it varies too, so we can get it to an even dollar amount, not do minimal changes and so on.
Get with Chris, because this is not updated.
Yeah, that's got the 2024. Yeah, the 2025 isn't official until you guys go through this. So it should be, there was a link, to my knowledge, there was a link on there that showed,
Well, this is 2023,
okay.
so it needs to be updated.
The price list is 2023?
It says cost share price list for 2023. That's all it's on there. It also has the wrong approved chemical retailers, so just want to make sure that that's updated.
You betcha. Yeah, actually, that's where I'm going today, is to get that with Chris, and then all the vendors will get all the updated 2025 information.
So we need a resolution for you to approve your $30,000 cap.
Yes, sir.
Does that have anything to do with the budget, or?
It's already
Just-
in.
We've
It's in-
already approved it in his budget there at that.
Why is it?
that figure. We just have a resolution we've put it in his budget, but we have a resolution each year that we gotta
You're
make
making
a
that
motion before we sign that. You want to do that, or you want me to?
I mean, I don't understand. Okay,
Is there anything I can help you understand, Ally?
go ahead. Motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-06 for the declaration of the 2025 noxious weed cost share program cap at $30,000.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 That's all I have, unless you have something for me.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny.
you.
Johnny? Wasn't you, it's budget. Thank
Take
you.
a brief recess till 11:30. Can we take a brief recess till 11:30?
You want one?
I'll make a motion that we recess until 11:30.
I'll second
Second.
it. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 What are you doing?
We're starting up again. Okay. We're back. Fleet management?
While we're waiting on the commissioners, I had one item left and it was just giving you a price. I spoke to Randy. He didn't have anything late Friday, but he said the gazebo minus the roofing would be $5,92 with labor and parts. He will have you a written bid on that next week.
Okay.
Without the roof, though, you said?
That is correct. But the written bid on all of it and the details will be next week.
Okay, thanks. Come on up, you guys, please. Wherever you want to be, right here in front's fine.
Yep, pull up here.
Bring the mic up there.
Morning.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
I'll do my best to sit this way.
You'll do fine.
So, did you guys got everything? We sent Danielle, did she send that back out to you?
Yeah. Like so.
I'm trying to get into it now, but
So last meeting, we kind of went through a recap overview of the program. I sent over the paperwork to the clerk. So all of the master agreements, I put them in case you wanted to approve that program and we can get the shop on there and whatnot, but that's completely optional. The master agreement allows us to partner and do business together. And then in addition to that, I met with Sean, and since our last conversation, we worked through the road and bridge segment and kind of discussed from a strategic standpoint, his need, and what, the road and bridge side was needing as well. There is in the model that we've put together for the road and bridge.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
She's trying to show me where it's at in SharePoint. I can't find it. So.
I don't see it.
It's
here.
in the email.
It's in the email. That's good.
Oh,
That's
hold on.
probably where it's at.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to follow along with you. And-
One second.
What day was it?
Just let me forward it to you.
It was Friday last week, wasn't it?
I've got it open, so it's Tuesday, the 25th.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. So with the conversation with Sean and Road and Bridge, the need or the request and the recommendation was 29 vehicles. That included the light duty fleet, the 2500s, and some 350s and 550s. So we met, we discussed those, and then we also put together kind of a plan that essentially it's, we'd have to just adjust that model as we go. But if we took out the medium duty vehicles, there would be about 24 vehicles. And then if we did the light duty, which I would consider the half tons on down, there would be 16 vehicles. So just kind of work through some different options, Sean and I together, to figure out what that would look like. And again, it's the all-in 29 vehicles was in that model. And then we would certainly have to go through and do some equipment based upon your recommendation and how you would like us to proceed with those medium duty vehicles. There certainly is additional equipment costs that would go on those vehicles, the spreaders, the bodies of the vehicles and such. But the light duty vehicles do not have any equipment or very minimal equipment. So that pricing is pretty accurate from a light duty vehicle standpoint. And then on the sheriff's side, in that budget model, we have the 12 vehicles listed on there with equipment costs included filled out. So I'm happy to walk through each of those different tabs and kind of what we did and put together, but certainly wanted to answer any questions.
Philippians 2:13 says, "For it is God who is at work in you."
I have to this weekend as well. So
Talking to us.
from a, just from a recap standpoint, do you guys have any questions or anything that arose whatsoever, paperwork wise, or from what we discussed last meeting?
I would just like to see the total cost versus what we've been spending. I guess that's where I'm at. You guys?
Yeah, and from my understanding, the last 3 years, there have not been any vehicle, we have a lot built up in the last 3 years. From a budget standpoint, is that accurate?
Clarify what you're asking.
So over the last.
What have we spent in the past?
Over the past 3 years,
Yes.
probably 200,000 each year, which is more than what our budget was.
We've been spending more than the budget. Okay.
Because we this year had we had the hill pull out and some of our car pulls, we had to purchase cars that we didn't want to get rid of because the insurance company had pulled them out and we couldn't really always have insurance. And we were in such a predicament that we ended up having from Missouri Highway Patrol and Kansas Highway Patrol last year to fill a deficit. I've been in the sheriff's office 15 years. The whole time I've been in the sheriff's office, we've been on a replacement 2-year cycle. 2-a-year cycle. And we've maintained that. But unfortunately, what we've done is, not unfortunately, we have raised our staff. We brought the SROs and stuff. And we got a bunch of cars on a grant from Missouri Highway Patrol, but we never upped our replacement cycle. Well, that puts in a deficit so that our cars were not getting replaced fast enough, and a lot of the cars that we were getting were used, and it kind of caught up to us the last couple of years. So the last couple of years, we've bought more cars than what we were budgeted for. We still came out on our budget, but what we have done is we've identified that we are in a deficit. So we either have to look for an alternative, like what we're doing here, or we're likely going to have to, this is my opinion, I'm not the sheriff, but this is my opinion, a raise where we probably get a 3-car a year while maintaining our maintenance budget that we already have. So that's likely going to be, instead of $150,000 a year, a $225,000 a year budget.
And just to add to that, we have the capability to self-fund vehicles as we take action, what we've been doing in the past. But with that model, if we think about 26, 27 vehicles, that's darn near a 13-year cycle pattern, which in an emergency response situation, that is way longer than what we recommend. We have these vehicles structured at a 48-month term. So from a cost perspective, even if we were at a break even, there's going to be a reduction in maintenance and fuel from moving from a 13-year average cycle pattern to a 30-year average cycle pattern. So,
But we're going to what cost?
right. So from a cost standpoint, the 163 for the aftermarket for those 12 vehicles is completely billed out of the lease cost. Now, sheriff believes that we can reduce that expense drastically by the equipment that we can transfer from unit to unit.
Right.
So that's worst case scenario. Now, that would be billed out up front once the vehicles are delivered at that point in time, if we did fully build out. Now, we can capitalize half of that into the lease, if not more, but we'll work from a budget standpoint to make that perfect. Now, from a lease expense standpoint, there's $154,815 for a full 12-month span. Now, this doesn't start until after the vehicle is delivered. So if we order them now, we get them upfitted. Let's just say they land January 1st, then next year you would have.
So that's on top of the 163?
The 163 is billed out, and then the 155, let's call it,
Yes.
is for the full 12-month span. Now, when we sell those 12 units, we're estimating $133,000 of equity, which that can be, we can write you a check for that and we can go into your equipment reserve fund, or we can use that as payments to cover the aftermarket completely. So I'm assuming we can get at least $30,000 from transferring equipment off of that aftermarket equipment cost. Therefore,
Okay.
next year you would have about $155,000 net for these 12 vehicles, which will put them in where they need to be from an operational perspective instead of buying 2 vehicles for roughly the same cost.
Is the 225, is that fully loaded up, all the equipment? Okay.
That's my estimate.
And from a long-term standpoint, as we get up and rolling and as these vehicles are in a better condition, as we start to sell them, we can again roll that equity and or self-fund. If we have additional funds from a budgeting standpoint that year, you can absolutely use that and self-fund as much as possible. Most of my entities leverage that equity lease model that we've discussed as we need to get the fleet in a healthier position in terms, will reduce the operational expenses with maintenance and fuel. But that's kind of the philosophy of the program is we're not a leasing company, we're a fleet management company, and we have the offerings to do both. In addition to that, you asked for hard costs. I don't have your exact hard costs, and from my experience over the last 10 years, it's very hard for government entities to specifically know for that single unit exactly what we're spending on a 12-month span, right? If we implement that maintenance program and we're using the local vendors, all of that data is integrated with our system to now we know your hard cost for not only the 12 vehicles that we're bringing in, but the entire, for their segment, the 27 vehicles in road and bridge. If they decide to go with that program, now we're using your hard cost. And again, the biggest value of our program is my people and my team coming out every single quarter and working with you all to not only prepare the budgets, but analyze this data and bring that to life so that you guys can, as a commission, as staff, can make really good decisions from a moving forward standpoint.
That $163,477 for the equipment up to, that's a very high number. We took that number, or Ken took that number on building a car out like from the ground up. Seldom do that. And our goal in this, if this is to be the way we move forward, would be to move as much equipment that we can from an existing car. Now, there's gonna be some things, especially like the center consoles, that because of the model year changes, we can't do that. But radios and computers, things like that, that are very high price items, that all should transfer, which will dramatically reduce that. And some vehicles are gonna be able to transfer lights and consoles because they're not gonna be out all year.
Well, what's your projected cost as far as difference versus what we're spending now to what we'd spend by doing this?
I don't have one, Jim. I'm not gonna give you one because I'm not gonna tell you something I don't.
Well, I just wondered if you had an idea is what I was asking. Where do you see it?
Yeah, so typically we see a 20% reduction in fuel. Worst case scenario, 20% reduction. I mean, we're going from a 14-year cycle to essentially a brand new fleet for 12 of the vehicles, right? So you're going to see a reduction in fuel economy. Maintenance is going to be substantial. With these emergency response vehicles being ran at the length that they are, there's a high expense for maintenance. And I think the team can speak to that, but again, it's hard to analyze that on a per unit basis.
What's your cost for repairs per year? Wasn't it around 50,000? 55 a year is what our repairs have been.
And as the fleet's fully implemented, I would expect that to at least be cut in half. And then from there, the equity is the biggest piece, right? And as we start to sell these vehicles at the right time, especially on some of the some of the road and bridge vehicles, like the Colorado Blazer, the Silverado 1500, we have those set at 36 months. And again, as I mentioned, we might even recommend you get out earlier on those. And with the sheriff's model on the Traverse and the Expedition Max, there's an opportunity to potentially get out even sooner and capitalize on equity faster than 48 months. So that's where, with these tariffs that are coming, if we can capitalize on the current model year that we're in and lock in this pricing, if the resale market drives up substantially, we might recommend you get out sooner than what we're recommending here. And with that equity lease model, you have that flexibility. All that we care about is the remaining balance, and then any equity on top of that is yours. So that's where we're always analyzing it and bringing that detail to you on a regular basis. So, when we have these conversations, the biggest The one thing that I want to make certain is that you guys understand that the world's going to change in the vehicle industry on an annual basis. And that's why I have my team meeting with you frequently to guide you through and make those recommendations as we. But again, I think from a hard cost like for like, it was really just a change in philosophy of buying 2 or 3 vehicles on the sheriff's side and on the road bridge side, essentially just paying cash for a few and running until they're dead, right? So it's a big change in philosophy, which again, as I mentioned at the beginning, is where I have some entities that get really aggressive and do the 29 for road and bridge and 12 for sheriff and just jump all in. And I have other entities that do more of a streamlined approach and will grow together and organically over the years as things change.
I think it's a big change.
What's that?
I think it's a big change if we were to change everything.
I do too.
Personally, feel like the sheriff's department brought it to us. I'd like to move forward with the sheriff's department at this point, but not the public works. But that's just just to see how it goes.
I don't want you to think that I'm here asking for a yes or no answer right now. What our goal is to be completely transparent with you guys and have a conversation. Again, we've identified the deficiency in our operation and we're looking for solutions. And we know that solutions, we're trying to come up with an inventive solution here so we don't have to raise the budget as much. And I know that $163,000 is going to decrease. I don't know if it's going to be half. I really think it might be. But if we don't do that, then we're going to have to do something else, and that's going to, of course, raise the budget. What I'm hoping is we can keep close to what our yearly expense is, $150,000 for the buying new cars, and replace that with the lease, and then lower our kind of offset our maintenance costs and help that outfit it, and kind of keep close to where we're at now.
Can you go back and give us a number as far as vehicles to where that would happen to balance out what you're spending now to the number of vehicles, or what you feel to where we didn't have to raise the budget?
The 150
Would do it,
The 150
without the upgrade, so.
155, if we were able to leverage the equity, pay for whatever the aftermarket expenses ends up being, we'll sell those 12 vehicles, we'll use that 133, that'll cover the aftermarket expenses, and then you would be at a 155 moving forward for the next 4 years. You'd be at a $155,000 budget, and then once we sell those vehicles, that equity would be returned, cover the transfer costs, cover that first year's cost, and then you would have, it'd be a very similar budget. So for these 12 vehicles, you'd be roughly 155,000. Now, as we add.
Without the upgrade costs though, right?
No, that's with.
With the
That's with.
It's gonna be that first year hit. The first year is gonna be the hit for the outfit, and after that, it's gonna.
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's without the upgrade costs, so on the front end.
But if we average that out, let's say it's 100,000 with it not including that equity over the 4 years, that's 25. We're still under. We're at $175,000 budget per year, even if we capitalize it all in, which is less than the $200,000 budget.
No, 225. Yeah.
So if we can leverage it, we're actually saving $50,000, building up that equipment reserve fund, fueling the program, and then in those future years, vehicle prices are going to go up, right? And they most definitely have over the last 5 years.
So, okay, so that's 12 vehicles. And that would have us locked in on those. What are we adding in over that time frame, Bobby? I guess is my
Where do we
question.
come up with the price for the other 15?
So
Well,
FDR,
no,
Are we not gonna?
yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to sell those off and reinvest into,
These,
yes.
but at what point are we?
Well, that's what they're gonna help do, is they're gonna take a look at it and help us tell us when that best point to make that.
But there will be a lot more cost to replace, right, somewhere along the line, because you got other cars to take care of besides these 12.
Yeah, but the idea, I believe, would be the equity from that big sale in the first 12 would help offset that.
Yes. And so the average age of if we get rid of the units that we're discussing there. So the average age is 2023 for the additional 15 vehicles that are in the fleet. And that includes some of the new ones that just arrived. So the average age would be 2023, and then the new vehicles would all be 2025 or 26 model year. So we would essentially have the fleet exactly where we need it to be. And then every year as we go, there's a few that are set. The next ones would be the 17, the 2021. There's probably 2 units the following year, and we would bring that back to you from a budget standpoint, and we would start that immediately and start forecasting out along the budget timeline. So there will be additional expenses, of course, but those vehicles have a lot of equity in them. So then we sell those vehicles off, and we reduce our costs moving forward with that equity that's built up in some of those newer vehicles. And it puts us right in line with the philosophy of the program if you were to approve those 12 vehicles.
On the Ram that's on there in the red line, went to the park, do we need a resolution that you guys got rid of that one?
I think we did.
We did.
So would it just drop off of there?
Yeah, we started this process before we did that, so that's why it's right there.
And they still needed a replacement. That's why I left it on there. The only other thing I will say is most of my government entities do have the road and bridge side involved in some way. The 29 vehicles is extremely aggressive. I completely understand that piece of it. The oldest 15 vehicles in the road and bridge department that I mentioned, kind of that light duty segment, the average age was in 2005 or 2006 for a quantity of 14 vehicles.
Is that on there, Jason?
It would be the third.
R&B strategy?
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
And I don't have a year for one of those, but roughly 14 to 15 vehicles, the average age is 2005, 2006. So I know from conversations with Sean, those light duty vehicles are where a lot of their equity comes from. Now, the need I understand is those 2 trucks you were talking about earlier today, the medium duties at the bottom of this list, and some of those heavy duty units. But if we can get the light duty units, those are units that we can start capitalizing on the equity and shifting some of those expenses over to those more heavy duty type options. Again, that's whatever the conversation is there, we can get started at any rate, but I know they do have an aged fleet on Sean's side. And from an operational perspective, our program works extremely well with the road and bridge and other non-emergency.
Okay, so speaking of road and bridge, that's $323,400 if we did all 29.
All of that, if you look, several of those vehicles are transportation and appraisers that were added in because we were asked to do all the other vehicles in the
Okay.
county. So if you pull those, I think you're gonna end up with that aged list of shop trucks that you're looking at.
Okay,
If you went down
And-
just to road and bridge and not transportation and appraiser.
and along the same lines as what we're doing with sheriff, how much do we spend annually on purchasing those trucks, those type of trucks?
We haven't bought any trucks that I know of since 21.
Planning and zoning truck.
Planning and zoning would be the
Mhm.
only truck that we purchased.
The
it's
newest,
on
the newest trucks we've got in our fleet all belong to all the supervisors.
Right.
Yeah, the average age is 2009 for all vehicles that I have on this list, more than the 26 model. Which it's common practice for most of our entities to run their vehicles out, but at the end of the day, it is an aged fleet, and there is a lot of value that we can bring to the operational expenses and capitalizing on that equity.
And I mean, doing this would cause you to increase your budget, right?
Doing this would cause me to pull it out from the equipment reserves and then unrolling 400,000 a year from road and bridge into that reserve. If I had those numbers, which I do not, then I could tell you where that would be and what our 3 to 5 year equipment plan says we can afford.
But the 400,000 isn't just on our light trucks.
No,
That's to cover everything.
that's our yearly input or average input since I've been here to your equipment reserve for road and bridge.
Okay.
But that's not counting dump trucks or anything else. I mean,
Road graders,
This
dump
does-
trucks, milling machines.
Yeah, and this does, the biggest trucks, we have 550s included in this.
that'd be a sign truck or.
That's correct.
And I mentioned it to Sean just from that earlier conversation, we can do the internationals, Peterbilts, such. I just have to customize that structure up with the. And again, that's where in our last conversation, 29 is very aggressive, and just wanted to lay that out based upon the age of the fleet, and where it is. If we did all 29 vehicles, what it would look like. But like to the earlier point, you know, I would love to help on the non-sheriff side as well, whatever that number be. You know, again, this is not something where I'm trying to sell you guys 29 vehicles and leave. I want to be here every single quarter. My team wants to be here every single quarter, working with the team and starting to work with budgets and help them from a moving forward standpoint, whether they want to self-fund that $300,000 truck or whether they want to use this equity lease for moving light duty vehicles in and out quickly. And that's where we want to be a partner with the county. And again, whatever that quantity is, I'm confident that this program will expand as we work together from the forward standpoint.
So where do we feel comfortable starting? Is it something that we think can work?
For Public Works.
I mean,
everything.
just for everything.
Already stated where I'm ready to move forward with the sheriff's department, but I don't feel comfortable with Public Works. And basically that's because I don't feel like I have my head wrapped around their budget, what they're spending, how much they're spending on each vehicle, repairs, all that stuff. I feel like the sheriff's department was prepared. They knew what they wanted. They came in, planned. I'm good with it. I'm not saying we're out of it for Public Works. I just think that we need to work with Sean and need to figure
And
out moving forward, like all the details. I feel like they have it down, close to the dollar of where they're at and where their budget is and where they might go over, where they might come back in. I mean, I know there's a lot of questions still, but I feel like they've done their work and they're ready to move forward.
Okay, and so along those lines, we're gonna continue to look at it from the road and bridge side? Or are we gonna wait and see how it's working with the sheriff's department before we?
My plan, like what I had stated even weeks ago, is just move forward and see how it goes. Get some feedback from sheriff's department before we start. I mean, I don't really know if there's a need to replace all of our. I mean,
Right.
we have the little truck over there at the courthouse, but it's like, do we really have a need to get a new one for him? I don't know.
Right.
I guess I just don't have it in my head which vehicles we would want to
Sure.
trade in. So
One thought that I have, the agreement would allow us to partner with the county as a whole, of course. And my thought is Sean and I on the road and bridge side, if we sat down and prepared the 26 budget and brought that back at that point in time for 2026 budget year, whatever that, whether it's 2 vehicles, 10 vehicles, 29 vehicles, whatever that looks like, I would just like the opportunity to work with the road and bridge side as well and help them prepare that data and bring that back to you guys at the appropriate time. Is 26 the fair? Is that fair?
well, was yours 26 or was yours going to be
This would-
25?
They would be landing at the very end of 25 into the 26 budget year. So we would start preparing the 26 budget very quickly.
Cause we'll be
I would be
approving
fine
that in
with you
June.
moving forward with helping Public Works to move forward with the plan, but my focus would just be Sheriff's Department right now.
Yes, ma'am.
And making sure that it's the best deal for all of us.
Yeah.
going forward.
Well, my question is at the 4 years with the rest of the vehicles, not knowing exactly where we're gonna be with that, because it could be, to me, it looks like it could be a huge increase, because we got that many vehicles to pick up at the end of the.
Absolutely, and again, next year, we might decide not to increase anything at all and ride those vehicles out X amount of years longer. And every year I'll have my team bring that back to you to show you exactly in that model year, what those costs are, what the equity would be, and what that would look like moving forward. We can certainly adjust, if we went, and this is inaccurate, but if we added 10 additional units, let's just say, as full out pursuit type vehicles, that brings your overall budget on an annual basis. And let's exclude equipment and let's exclude equity, but that would bring you to a $287,000 budget for 22 vehicles. So that's an increase of 10 units. And I'm confident that with the equity that's built up in the fleet, that would be coming down. And
What was that number again?
287,000 for 22 total units. So with the prices of vehicles increasing substantially over the last years, if we move up to 3 vehicles, that's going to be pretty in line. So,
But the lease will be continuing too. I mean, when you lease new vehicles, the price will increase. I mean, it's
yes, sir. But it's a lot at that point.
for 4 years.
Correct. So, and again, we'll bring that to you each and every time from a budgeting standpoint. Every year, this is the type of exercise that we're going to do with the team to prepare their budgets. And I think that equity lease just gives us a lot of flexibility to deflate. In a lot of opportunities, we see a reduction in vehicles as we have a healthier fleet. We don't need as many spares or whatever that looks like. So there's other opportunities from a utilization standpoint, and then getting out of vehicles early, and that's where we'll work together with the team. But I'm confident if we can get these 12 going, start to help the road and bridge side at a smaller rate and build that up, I'm confident that we can make this partnership.
And from your perspective, Bobby, the 287 for all 22 units, if we're having to replace that entire fleet, we're going to be spending that much or more
No, we're gonna replace it, yeah.
every year, rolling them out.
And the operations.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, 287, then you're thinking about what the increase in our maintenance is gonna be.
Correct.
So that's not getting any cheaper. As used to be, when I first started, I'll give the Crown Vic all the credit in the world. That car never broke it, never lost a transmission, never blew a motor. And these cars now, I'm sorry, they're just not built like that anymore. We're on gravel roads. Our guys running 20. They're ran. They've got all shift long, hot, cold. They get hot because they're ran fast. So they're just not what they used to be, in my estimate. I don't expect if we maintain what we're doing, I'm not the sheriff. My estimate would be we're gonna have to increase the number of cars that are budgets to replace a year and maintain, and likely increase our maintenance. And will we end up being there with those combined budgets? Probably. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm not asking for an answer right now. Again, this is just a conversation. I do not want to come in here and make you feel like I need an answer. That's not where we're at. I just want a conversation.
Okay.
And I'm here to answer any questions to the best of my abilities. I wish I could give you what we're going to cut that quick box down, Jim. I really wish I could give that to you, but I'm going to tell you something and not be truthful about it. I'm not going to give you a bunch of BS.
You don't have to sell us.
I think you've provided enough information for myself to make a decision. Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Anything else, commissioners?
I guess when are you looking for an answer? When do we need to give you an answer?
When you guys feel comfortable. That's really what I want to say. I want all the buy-in.
The one additional piece that I'll add from that perspective, we are at the end of the 25 model year, and these vehicles will be cutting off very likely in the next month, the month and a half. And then from the 26 model year, as the discussion before with the tariffs and everything else, there's a lot of unknowns. So if there is any way that we can get these 12, whatever quantity going, in the next few weeks, next month at least, if there's some value from a cost perspective.
Do you submit the contract? Do you give it to them and then we'll review it? How does that work?
There should be a contract in the
Okay.
email that
Oh,
really would
sorry.
like you guys to have the new county council take a look at.
Let's do that. Okay.
That is the master agreement. So a lot of our entities approve the master contracts and then approve the sheriff to work within the budget and execute lease quotes, or have the county commission execute lease quotes, whatever your preference is. That there will be additional paperwork for each individual vehicle, but the master agreement is a one-time. We do have the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative Award, which allows you to piggyback off all the different things that we're speaking about, which is in there as well, and that's where all of the contractual pieces are.
Okay.
Do you want to put that on fleet management for Paletta on Monday
Yep.
to review? Add that to the agenda. Did you go over that contract? Did you read through that?
I read through it, but
You guys want to be over here as we go over it with the attorney? Okay. Bobby, and James. Give them an invite for that. So we'll go over it this Monday
Perfect.
and then give you contact.
And I will work with the sheriff team to prepare all the lease quotes.
Okay.
So that you all have that detail, and whether you approve the sheriff to execute those agreements, or you all decide to execute those agreements, you'll have all 12 units, and all the paperwork.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I have one question right here. What, are we short two people on the planning and zoning board?
We are.
Do we have any ideas? I mean,
I haven't got with Ken on them, but yes, I do have ideas.
okay.
Just both of them are in your district?
Yes.
I thought they were, so that's something we can,
Who left?
when we get Kent.
Job. And then we have retiring,
Andy Anderson, I think.
yeah.
Yep.
Eddie Anderson,
Eddie, yeah.
When do they need to be filled?
as soon as possible.
Is there
Next
anything
meeting would be what?
Tuesday, next
April-
Tuesday? A week from Tuesday's the next meeting, right?
Okay.
Applications are on the website, right? That you can send out to people?
Right.
Can we work on that maybe and get them into the meeting if we can?
Sure.
Rose, you have anything else? Or? Yes, you guys with Spearmint Energy? Yeah. You guys good with
You
moving on?
guys, okay
You
to,
guys come to the podium and state your name if,
do you need, yeah. So if you go ahead and pull your laptop out, let me get out of, I think that's me. I need to get out of it. I just need to.
Turning it more so that we can see it as well.
And honestly, the last time we did this, it didn't work. So can you get Chris Martin on the phone and make sure he's available to come over here? Because every time we do this, it doesn't work.
So you have to be logged into our Wi-Fi.
Yeah, set the public one.
I don't know that that's going to be
No,
trying to hook it up.
I'd like to actually figure this out because
We got time. Started early, so.
sorry, I appreciate the HDMI, but
do you have something, Randy, that you want to talk to us about or? Okay. I didn't know. Okay.
okay, our password is just lower.
Okay.
Which one is it though?
Let's go to public.
Oh, Just Linn County.
You want to just come up here and talk, Randy?
No?
Yes. All right. The only other thing is we have one tender that is up at, it's unit 924, the one in Pleasanton. It's up at Freightliner in Olathe with some fuel issues.
So this hadn't been
Getting
working?
worked on.
No, but it
Hope to
should
hear
have
back from them today
because
on
of the Wi-Fi
what
and
the
password issue.
problem is. It kept derating, and so it'd go 30 miles an hour. But with the one that we'd taken out of service, we had not sold yet. We were able to repair it when we took it out of service, and so we put it in service as a spare. So we're okay there. But that's the only thing I had.
Just let us know that.
Yeah.
We read your.
I think we're gonna-
Or something. Okay. Thank you, Randy.
Sounds good. Thank you, Randy.
There we go.
This is awesome.
All
Thank you.
right. Well, there we go. All right. We'll appreciate the time today. My name's Blake Johnson, representative from Spearmint Energy. Have two folks with me today as well. Jenny Dean on my left, your right. She's from a group called 39 North and is assisting me with my projects on permitting as a subject matter expert. Then we have Evan Balcom as well. He's from a group called Fire and Risk Alliance. Work very closely with their group just on our battery projects, doing meetings like this, coordination with fire departments when we're putting emergency response plans together. And so wanted him here as well in case there were any questions that came up that he could answer. So diving into it. So we are coming to you very early on. We're early in the development process for a battery energy storage project just north of Lacine there, so very northeast portion of the county. Wanted to provide information to you guys, have a show of transparency, being early on the project, and get any comments, thoughts, questions addressed. And then we do have some meetings tomorrow with both Randy and then Kent as well, just to go over permitting process and then start to do that deep dive with the fire department. We'll do an informational session with them and just get into the details. So for the agenda, I just want to dive a bit into who Spearmint is. Then we can talk about best battery energy storage projects in general. Talk a little bit more about this project specifically, some of the benefits of the project, as well as address some of the safety topics as well. And then just go over kind of next steps, what we're doing in the near term, as well as full project timeline as we see it today. So Spearmint Energy is a privately owned U.S. company. Our headquarters are in Miami, Florida, and then we have another office, which I'm based out of, which is out of the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. Spearmint Energy itself, see all this metrics, I guess, 20 projects plus in development, over 10 gigawatt hours of storage in 4 regions of the U.S. We do have one project operating, which is this Revolution project in Crane County, Texas, and then 2 more in construction currently, and then should have about, I think, 3 more through 2025 starting construction. And then I guess certainly feel free to jump in if you guys have any questions kind of just as I'm going through this, but in a nutshell, what is BESS? So our projects are standalone energy storage projects directly tied to the grid. So they're not directly affiliated with any specific electrical generation source, not directly affiliated with any loads, so anything like data centers or anything like that. Not a part of this project or Spearmint's development portfolio. The gist of what we're doing is, storing electricity in the batteries and then dispersing it back to the grid. So really what we're doing is when there's, dips in demand, but more of a peak in supply, our batteries could charge at an economical price. And then when there's then a peak in demand, we can then offset some of those peaks with the storage assets. I guess more like physically, they're very much resemble storage containers. They stand about 10 feet tall, and are on a pretty small footprint as well. The batteries themselves sit on maybe 3 to 5 acres, and then the entire site will be around 15 to 20, just to incorporate access roads, on-site substation, things like that. So this is just a bit of like, when I'm talking about an enclosure, what are we talking about? So lithium ion batteries are kind of the industry standard today. So when you're looking at the enclosure, when you open that up, you can't walk inside of it, but you open it up from the outside. There's all these racks that hold modules, which then hold the battery cells. So that's just a graphic of that. And then getting into Silverfield. So yeah, sorry the maps are tiny, but we're directly north, like I said, of the Evergy power plant over there. We're not on Evergy property, but we are directly abutting it. And just kind of wedged between that and I believe some kind of quarry up there in the very northeast corner. Silverfield itself is planned to be a 300 megawatts, 1200 megawatt hour system. As reference, we have leased about 25 acres. Batteries themselves will be on about 4 acres of that. Again, standalone facility, nearest residence being over a quarter mile. And yeah, it will be, if constructed, be a great add to the local tax revenue, as well as it's very good at assisting the grid. Both in the case of if there were blackouts or brownouts, it's an excellent resource to interject power back onto the grid. It also helps with the longevity of existing infrastructure. And for this, just wanted to focus on the map itself. So there is a transmission line running through the project. We would intend, and through our interconnection, we would intend to directly tap into that line. So we would not be building additional overhead transmission, any lines that the project would utilize, aside from, a small overhead just to tap into that line. Everything else would be just underground collection within the site itself. So some of the benefits, obviously, like I mentioned, big one being local tax revenue. So we've done some projections, and this is a bit of a moving target kind of throughout the U.S. We go in and, not every state even has battery storage projects. And so some of it is assessors, taking a look at what their structure is today, but understanding, those are some things that may change and change those numbers specifically. But,
Do you fall under the 10-year tax abatement with like the renewable energies?
No. So we don't. There is, to my understanding, there is currently a bill that's going through and being discussed at the Senate level for a 10-year exemption. And so I think that's something that, we'll keep our eyes on. Certainly, I think some room for discussion there. Wouldn't intend to, use those 10 years and not benefit the community. So any kind of like pilot or donation agreement that we could put in place with you guys, upon approval, obviously, of permitting the projects is certainly a discussion we're open to having. But today there is not one. So yeah, and then talked a little bit about, energy cost stabilization, really shaving off those peaks and dips on the demand and consumption side for the grid does help in turn with pricing for energy within the community. And then just supporting growth, more electrical resources for the community, and does, again, like I said, support the existing infrastructure that's in place.
And like your $20 million in the first 10 years, that is what you will be paying in taxes, or that is what you will be putting on our tax roll?
So that's what we would be paying in property taxes. Currently in the state of Kansas, batteries would be fully taxed from both a personal or real and personal property tax. So yeah, that's our estimate for what we would be paying.
Okay.
And then, yeah, just then the 52 million being over the 30-year life of the project, accounting for, depreciation of the asset itself. And then safety. So again, we have Evan here. He'll be a great resource if we really want to dive into some of the specifics on safety. But just in a nutshell, batteries themselves are becoming more prevalent within the U.S. Just looking at that graph on the right, just wanted to show the difference between where we were at in 2018 versus today versus with number of deployments and the number of instances, that ratio is decreasing pretty significantly. Industries, learning from its mistakes and becoming safer and putting more standards and codes in place. Which, Spearmint and Silverfield Bestwood,
What type of equipment does it take to fight a battery fire?
I think Evan, do you want to dive into that one right away? Yeah.
Come on up to the podium. Introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. Evan Balcom with FRA, a 20-year firefighter, New York City Fire Department. I have past 4 years been responding to battery emergencies and planning battery emergency response plans for larger systems. So what type of equipment it takes to fight these fires, there isn't really specialized equipment right now at the time. Batteries will typically burn themselves out. The plan with NFPA 55, that is the code that systems are built around now, battery energy storage systems, contain a failure either to the cell or to the module. You saw the animation of the depiction earlier. You have a single cell, then it's put together with a bunch of other cells. That's a module, and then it goes together larger. In a larger system like a rack or a container, a single cell can fail, and hopefully just a failure could be a cell going to thermal runaway, and that's it. Some smoke comes out, it's detected, the cabinet senses, takes that module or rack offline, and somebody can come out, take that single cell out and change it out. A larger failure, like if, let's say a tree fell on something, or you had a failure where you had more cells going to thermal runaway, that would be contained to that cabinet, that asset, and hopefully that module. And then that fire is just dependent on state of charge. So the amount of energy in there is going to be related to the fire. If there's zero state of charge, there will usually not be an incident. There's not much going on inside that cell. If you don't have an arc, you don't have anything to burn. The plastics can burn, but plastics can burn anywhere else too. So a cell failure itself does not have any special way to put it out. It is usually non-intervention is the method, and the newer systems will contain that fire to a single cabinet or module, and then it will extinguish itself.
Good. Thank you.
And then so just for, I guess, some more considerations. So the project will be monitored 24/7, 365, both on-site and remotely. Part of what we're building out in our Minneapolis office is an operations team. So we have a whole room that will be monitoring these facilities. Once we get more than one operational, be a bit more of a lift, but eyes on it 24/7. The facility itself, gated, secured access, so it won't be open to the public. Then, one of the things that, we're going to discuss tomorrow with Randy and just going over, one, what are the specifics of batteries themselves and kind of dive into the chemistry a bit more. But also one of the things we'll put in place is a very robust emergency response plan. I like to say, we don't intend for anything to happen here, but that isn't a reason to not have a plan in place. And so, we'll have those discussions, and that would be something that, we would put in place before operations. And then on top of that, once the facility is constructed, pre-operations, we would do on-site training with the department, and then, site walkthroughs and things like that, so that if anything happens, everyone's on the exact same page and knows exactly how to respond to an event.
What hazards are associated with the fire, if there is one?
Yes, sir. There are hazards associated with the fire. Just like anything else burning, you can get toxic gases coming off it. The main three gases that come off a battery failure are carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen. Those dissipate in the atmosphere. But if you were in that container, which those are non-walking containers, those would be hazards. The same hazard as any fire. If you're right up close to it or you're near it, you could have a thermal hazard. There are explosion hazards if you do not have explosion mitigation, like explosion prevention systems. All new cabinets have explosion prevention systems. It's governed by NFPA 68 and NFPA 69. So I would say normal hazards and also shock hazard. If you go into a substation, any electrical substation or power generation plant, you're going to have an electrical hazard. So with it shut down, there is not anything associated with the electrical hazard. There is stored energy inside the battery, but depending on the situation, there are hazards, and the emergency response plan deals with that. And the way the fire department responds really removes them from any of those hazards. Those gases, if you're not in that small area of a plume, we talk about like a battery fire, it's usually some wispy smoke coming out and going out into the atmosphere. When we start burning anything, we have like a toxic atmosphere. So we said, like, what are the hazards of, gasoline burning from a car? It's the same thing. If we get stuck in a traffic jam, we don't have 100 people dying because it's dissipating. But if you put your head right next to that tailpipe, that is a hazard. So to be transparent, there can be gases, but it's all in quantity and how close in relation you are to that plume.
Any time for soil contamination or anything with the soil contamination if there was something to happen with these batteries?
Yes, sir. Currently, there were 3 fires in New York in the summer of 23. There was a working group that did studies, and they found no soil contamination, nothing left the site. We also cite Otay Mesa. They used 6 million gallons of water, and the owner continuously tested during water use on those batteries, and it was released for dust control in the area, put back. So they did not find contamination.
Thank you.
All right, and then, yeah, just to discuss next steps. So mentioned briefly, but tomorrow we are we have planned to meet with the fire department as well as planning and zoning director. One, just to address, some of this, Evan has a great presentation, just to really get into the technology itself and then talk about response and whatnot. And then meeting with Ken tomorrow as well, understanding, new in the position and just, one, want to meet him, but two, start to discuss, how would something like this be permitted, understanding that, typically the first, first stop isn't, presenting to the commission, which I think he was a little concerned. I thought that was the first step, but, discuss with him how we go about this, talk a little bit about timeline and whatnot. So once that's determined, we have started field studies for, wetlands, habitat, threatened and endangered species. We'll do cultural studies. And so probably going to be wrapping those up Q2, early Q3. And then, just continue outreach and engagement, doing things similar to what we're doing here. And, just making sure we have full visibility on development of the project and, be able to answer questions as they arise. And then on the bottom, I just wanted to give you guys a snippet of, what we're looking at from a development timing process. So like I said, we did come here a little bit earlier than, we're not looking to permit this next month and start construction by the end of the year. We are a little ways out. A lot of this is driven by interconnection timing, which is the main reason that is pushed out so far. But the reason we're here today is really, there are pretty hefty deposits that will come up for the project. And, my main job duty, I guess, is, de-risking these projects and understanding discretionary permitting at a local level is one of those boxes to check. Want to make sure we're coming here early and making sure, we understand everything you guys are hoping to see so that once we, put a permit on a conditional use permit or whatever the process will be, putting that on your desk, it's not the first time you guys are hearing about the project and have been able to do some research. So
Are any of these tax exempt anywhere that's already been built? Or are they all taxable?
Like in the US? I would imagine there are none of the states I'm working in currently have any tax exemption. We didn't have, so Texas, where our one operating asset is, and then two others under construction, does have a tax exemption, and then, need to put like pilot programs together with those communities.
How do you determine if it is taxable or not taxable? When's that determined?
Yeah, that would be something that's determined at the state level.
Our legislature is gonna.
Yeah, so they would.
Yeah, but I'm saying from state to state, I mean, I'm asking, is it taxed anywhere in the state or in the United States, or is it?
What I hear you say is Texas is the only operating facility that you have, and they have a tax exemption.
Yeah,
So
I guess.
you can't show us what you're paying them because they're under a tax exemption, right?
Right, and I mean, their levers may be different for, how they would tax it, what that tax revenue would look like, different sized projects. So I think some different metrics there. I guess the one thing I will say is that project was operational before tax exemptions came in. And so we don't have those for that project, but they are currently existing in the state.
So if you were to build before the tax exemption passed, it wouldn't retroactively pick you up?
That's a good question.
That'd be for the Senate too, right?
I'm not completely sure. I think, if theoretically, if discussions are going on today and, we're not looking at starting construction until 2028, I would imagine that would be flushed out before then. I can dig into that though. Definitely, yeah, something that would be important. Obviously, if, we complete construction and the next day a tax exemption comes into play or vice versa. Yeah, something we should wrap our heads around.
Is your pilot programs negotiable, or is it the type of deal like the solar and the wind? They're basically non-negotiable with us.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be happy to negotiate it with you. I think, we would look at, what's the current understanding of, how we would be taxed without any kind of, 10-year exemption, and then kind of work backwards from there. But yeah, certainly would be, we'd encourage those discussions for sure. All right.
I guess from where I'm coming from, we did send it back to planning and zoning. They are going to review battery storage, data centers, and something else in our plan. So I would just stay in contact with Kent on where they're at as far as permitting and things like that. We did try to get it stopped over a year ago, but we were told by legal we can do that with the solar at the same time. So I do think that there's ongoing discussions on if the county wants it or not.
Okay. Yeah, be a informative discussion tomorrow then. Yeah, noted.
I don't have any further questions.
I don't have any.
All right, awesome. Well, appreciate the time. I think one of the things, I guess one more question for you guys, if there is anything procedurally or anything you would hope, for us to bring forward, certainly would be open to, hearing that and, taking that, I guess, constructive feedback, and then as well as just, I guess, checking in more generally. We may be months away, from actually, putting a permit together and whatnot, and understanding, discussions are had outside of, those times. And so I guess if there is any kind of touch point or anything you guys would prefer as, we're moving through that, obviously you guys can go talk to Kent as well. We'll probably be pretty,
definitely
working close.
with Kent. You should stay in contact with Kent on all of that.
Oh.
You guys agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, just for public knowledge, this project is not going to be prohibited right now. You are allowed to have a conditional use permit without changes to the regulations. So.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Yeah, we'll chat with Kent tomorrow and kind of figure out the path forward. But yeah, again, really appreciate the time, and look forward to chatting more about the project in the future.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you guys.
What else do we have?
Can we just, I just had a text from Coletta and can we just clarify if benefits were included or not with her contract?
There were not, so we,
Yeah, we didn't talk to her about it though.
Okay.
So she was just asking,
Okay.
so I'm gonna have Rose reach out to her.
Well, we did talk to her about those.
In the interview.
Not today, but
Not today,
in
no.
the interview we did, and then today we didn't clarify if she was getting them or not. So
Right.
Okay.
we're saying no.
Right.
And can you reach out to her?
I can.
And make sure she's still agreeable.
Okay.
What we decided.
Mhm.
Okay.
anything else?
Well, a couple of questions. We were talking about job descriptions and now I'm not seeing it on upcoming. When were we gonna circle back to the job descriptions?
So we sent that to HR to review them and bring us a proposal, right?
We didn't set a date on it.
No, we didn't, because we
I know-
needed to,
I know they're being worked on.
because we were kind of waiting for them to kind of give us a timeline on when it could be
Timeline, whenever it
accomplished,
take them to get done.
right?
I would say that, yeah.
Hold on just a second. Is there anything on the agenda table items that we wanna get back on the agenda and take care of these things, or are we just moving forward, leaving it over there?
I think we just continue to work on what we've got coming up.
I think that's what we need to do right now. There's some things on here, as soon as we get our legal counsel, we can take care of them.
Right.
Roadway Safety Action Plan, April 7th.
Yep.
Was that something, that's just like what we're gonna do with the roads, the plan?
Yes.
there? Okay. Is there anything I need to bring to prepare for that, or just talking and
It'll
doing
be-
discussion, or are we having anybody come in?
So didn't we say we were having Todd, Sean, Jesse coming in to talk about the budget, areas of concern? Right?
Do we want anybody else? I just wanna make sure Rose is, or Danielle's reaching out to them, make sure they're here and notified. Can we also bring a copy of the comprehensive plan, talking about what we agreed to do in the comp plan for the roads in the county?
Okay.
Or I'll bring my binder for sure.
Okay.
Anything else?
When are we, on the GIS interim, are we gonna move forward with anything there?
Made a motion to,
Did we do that?
yep.
Okay. No.
No, of the
No,
interim,
basic.
not,
Did we get the,
Did we give
did we get the change made in the pay matrix?
Yeah. We're talking.
I don't know.
Okay, I think we need to wait for Danielle to come back and make sure we've got that taken care of, so we can finalize it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
I don't think I have anything else to.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 They're gonna get their 10-year tax abatement.